What is up, everybody? We should be live on the YouTube. Wait for it. Oh, it says excellent. What's up? We are back for episode. What episode is this, Mark? 97?
Yes, the big 9-7.
97. Crazy to believe. Perpetually late, as Lucas put.
She's not always wrong.
Not always wrong. Yeah, it's been an interesting week this week because we've got a lot to talk about with Gamescom. We got an announcement for a series that you love. Haven't loved the last few, but you love this.
Used to love.
You used to love the series, which was really interesting. Came out of nowhere. I was kind of excited to send it to you. And then some weird stuff, like some really interesting weird stuff this week. Another thing that I saw early in the week was there are a lot of people. I mean, the tweets were going off, especially on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mostly Wednesday and Thursday I saw it, but I saw it on Tuesday as well because there was some stuff to count for. People are really mad at Xbox, basically because there's no exclusives happening there. You know, they're putting their biggest games over on the other platforms. Like, not,
no, I'm not a Xbox exclusive person, but like if I was, I'd be frustrated. I'm like, you just spent how many billions of dollars on all these studios, and you've still yet to actually start pumping out a lot of games out of these studios. It's been what, at least 2 years, and you don't really have anything to show for it.
Yeah, and I was a little shocked about they're putting Indiana Jones, at least as quick as they are over on PS5 and stuff like that. I'm like, well, this isn't, what's the point of grabbing an Xbox? What's the point in getting into the ecosystem of Xbox? So I kind of see it. I am not dedicated to any one platform necessarily. If something really cool comes out on Xbox, I'm going to go play it there. Something comes out cool on Nintendo, it's just there. I'm just going to play it there, kind of whatever. Most of Xbox is on PC, so for people that have PCs, there isn't like a incentive to grab an Xbox necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. Just a little crazy, but anyway, that's kind of like off the rip with that one there. People are pretty mad at Xbox, so I was seeing the tweets go off. And we can officially, I think, call it Twitter X now, because now I'm actually hearing people say it. So I think it's okay to say.
Before we get to that one, I just want to say it just works. That's what
Twitter
Todd
X
Howard always
does.
says for Xbox. But yeah, I thought I saw a few weeks ago put out like because he does random polls on his account. He's like, should we just rename it Twitter X? The best of both. It's a quasi rebranding. And I saw that. I was like, that's actually not a terrible name, Twitter X.
X Twitter is, but Twitter X sounds good. It flies off the tongue, but X Twitter does not. So we gotta do Twitter X if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, the big X.
I'm hearing people say it now, so must be like must be actually happening.
Probably. I mean, just because he says like, "Hey, we're going to do this," doesn't mean like tomorrow. It obviously takes time to update stuff, update branding, update your websites, and all that stuff. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff I can understand, but
yeah,
it eventually going that way in the next 6 months wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, you got a whole board of people to go through first, but yeah, it's I could see it. I could definitely see it happening. All right, so we'll just go ahead and start off here with the smaller news. This one's hilarious because it's not a joke. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, so did I.
I got some jokes about it. But Chick-Fil-A is reportedly launching its own. So it's launched a streaming platform, TV. I don't quite understand this at all. Doesn't make any sense to me. But it's real because I've seen it reported across the board on not just gaming websites, like everywhere.
Yeah, I guess the one question is, I don't know if you saw it, is this something they're just doing on their own? Are they partnering with somebody else to do this? Or is this because it just kind of feels weird that a restaurant's gonna get into the streaming like on their own, and like what are they gonna stream? Like what's the point of it?
I don't know, because they won't be allowed to stream on Sundays, as you know.
Yeah, I've run into that before. I'm like, I really want Chick-Fil-A. I'm like, I'm driving there like, oh my god, it's a Sunday. And I get so frustrated.
Yeah, can't watch nothing on Sundays on it. I don't know if it's with anybody else because I haven't seen anything. It says there's other companies like Lyft, Airbnb are in apparently in the streaming game, and somehow I don't know if it's like I don't know how.
I could get maybe like a Lyft or like an Airbnb, as in like we're gonna stream in our Lyft vehicles, or Airbnb where you're hosting. It's got their own little network, but even then,
but it's other people's cars. Lyft is.
Yeah, but even then, like with that stuff, it's like it's easier. It's kind of like to a hotel. Like if they have the option, it's just log into pre-existing stuff. You can log into YouTube on the TV or Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus. Like it just allows you to log into stuff that's already there or whatever on the platform. It's like seems kind of like a waste of money, or like I don't know. Do we know any more than they're just saying, hey, this is like something we're going to get into? Do they announce anything else, or is it just being like reported third party?
So it's mostly third party reporting, but apparently this is from Deadline. That they're moving into the entertainment space with plans to launch a slate of TV shows for its platform. So my assumption is it's probably like, I don't know, I'm just guessing here. I could be totally wrong. I'm guessing maybe they're doing like some Christian shows or something.
I mean, that's like what I would assume.
Platform.
But and I don't, regardless of certain views, and this is just from an outside, I don't know exactly everything, because it's one of those things you see like as like on X or Twitter X or whatever you want to call it, and you just kind of like, that's kind of weird. Like this would make more sense, like say, hey, they partnered with like say like Daily Wire, just because it
KFC
it would line up
with the console. I don't know whatever happened to it, but they're putting out that console.
No, was that the console where you also like fried chicken in it?
I don't know that we might have reported on that part, but I know the console was supposed to be real. It was supposed to be like an Android box, basically.
Unless they're going, I assume they're going to partner with somebody else, because they're just going to do this on their own. It feels like it's not going to work unless it's just something they're going to have streaming in their restaurants, and it's less of a thing. It's just more of like, hey, they're going to have like a little, like, I don't want to say server, but some like like a hardware looping thing that they have in their restaurants that just loops it. But why make an announcement for that?
I know. I went to go see if Chick-fil-A put anything on their X account, and they haven't tweeted since November of 2022. So the news didn't come from there. I was trying to see if there's anything else I could find out about it, because it is a little sus, if you ask me. A little weird. I feel like there's
hard hitting Dateline by Peter White is just making stuff up to get clicks. It wouldn't be the first time.
I don't even know who that is.
It's that's the dude that wrote the article over on Deadline. I pulled it up.
Yeah, I mean,
but even this, as I was like browsing through it, I was like, "There's nothing really in here that says anything."
Yeah, it didn't say anything. So I'm on that website too, but just says a family-friendly game show from Glassman Media. It includes a family-friendly game show. Yes, that's kind of like the other thing. Like maybe it is like family-centric like type of stuff. This is not going to take off. Let's be real here. They don't have the money to fund. They're no Netflix or Hulu or even Amazon Prime Video.
It also would make more sense if this is just something they're going to do in their own restaurants.
No, that would make more sense. Is it worth it? Probably not, but that would make more sense, I guess.
Why the assumption is they're partnering with somebody else, the way they don't have to upfront the whole cost. They can just essentially license other stuff, or help fund something that they want, be able to be broadcast in their restaurants. But
apparently they had a short animated film series on their website called Stories of Evergreen Hills before. So they've done the media thing, I guess. And then when they were talking about Lyft, it says apparently there's a produced show called Lucky Lyft. So it was like probably like that Cash Cab crap. Do you remember Cash Cab?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. So it's apparently like that. A game show hosted by Bob the Drag Queen and Airbnb, which previously produced a documentary. Oh man, I'm not going to get into it. It's a bunch of political stuff. Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to pull it up. It just seems like a really cheap but decently animated, like the whole 3D animation type stuff for that Evergreen. It's like a whole 4 episodes of like less than of like maybe 20 minutes between like 4 different episodes.
So they're like, let's get in the entertainment business. This is so good. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, that whole thing just seems weird to me at the end of the day.
Archive.org has an archive though. See that? That's good.
They archive everything.
They're important, man. You can actually watch it straight from their website too. I got it running right now.
Great.
Yeah, it's just that it doesn't look bad. Like, it's not that bad 3D animation. It looks almost Pixar-ish. Looks like they put some money into it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're animating like 20 minutes worth of stuff, 22 minutes, you can afford to splurge a little bit.
You'd be surprised the cost of that, though.
Yeah, but like a company like them probably could afford that level of animation for less than a half hour's worth of actual video.
Sure, that makes sense.
That's maybe a few $100,000, probably realistically. Yeah, maybe up to $1 million, something that they could probably realistically afford to put out. I
wouldn't say much, but yeah, we're talking the hundreds of thousands, probably.
Something to like you and me is expensive because like what a lot of TV shows, it's not unrealistic to have anywhere from like $100,000 to $500,000 for like a single episode.
Yeah.
In television, like that's not uncommon.
No, not uncommon at all.
That's usually like what.
If you got one of those HBO shows, you're looking at $1.5 million, for an episode. Yeah. Easy. Something.
Obviously,
like
it depends on the network, how much it makes, how much they can, actually afford. But like it's not unheard of. It's pretty common.
Yeah.
On the individual side, $100,000 is a lot of money for you or me, but for a network that rakes in or has a net worth in the billions, makes hundreds of millions of dollars every year, that's like a drop in the bucket.
That's true. Yeah, it is definitely different when you're on a different level. It is, regardless, it is a lot of money. It's interesting. I'm interested to see what happens with it. Do I necessarily even care? Not really. No.
No, not really.
Let's
probably not gonna. I was just gonna say I'm not gonna subscribe to it, but I don't subscribe to Netflix anymore. I don't subscribe to Hulu. I've only got Amazon Prime.
Well, you're about.
That's just because it's a
Chick-Fil-A Plus now.
Probably not.
All right, so we got. Also, I thought this was pretty cool, man. The Xbox does keep doing this. This is kind of the right move because I see they've got. I already knew about the one that launched with the console. Well, pretty much launched with the console, but now they've got quite a few different things here. So this is a new adaptive controller. If you watch like this little trailer that IGN has, it's pretty cool. I think they've got 4 different ones that I'm aware of for Series X, Series S. I believe these work on Xbox One as well, so they're like backwards compatible.
Yeah.
But this one is the one that I saw was like kind of like one that was meant for sort of the neck for people that don't have arms or have like little movement of their arms and things like that, so they can sort of use it as like a grip, if you will. But they've got quite a few different ones, and they're very customizable too. So they've got those like little hand ones, kind of like what was for the CDI, and then we were seeing. I was like, oh, that CDI controller they've got on limited run right now. It's like one of those type of one-handed controllers. Bunch of different stuff. So I think those are cool. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool, especially for if you have some kind of like disability where it makes the regular controller kind of hard to use.
Yeah.
Just having more options. It's not like it's gonna cost them a whole lot of money to make these. Half of it's probably to adapt different parts they already make, and then they're just making a handful of extra parts here or there.
Yeah, they're super customizable. I mean, they've got ones that are meant for just finger use. There's one I know that you can customize it like 4 different ways, I think. So it's got like where you can put your arms on it and leave it on sort of on the controller to move your arms.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different cool ones. I think it's really neat of them to do that because I mean there's definitely people out there that would like to be able to play video games and can't with a controller or mouse and keyboard, and it's good to have options.
Yeah.
I also just saw, I did not know about this. This is what I've been wanting for the last 4 years now. Sorry, I've wanted it since the launch because it matches all the other ones that I have. They got a white Series X coming out. But it's a 1 terabyte model. That's what I already have. They got a 2 terabyte model. It's like a Galaxy, a new one that they announced. It's like a Galaxy one. It's got like stars all over it, sort of things. A little sparkly looking. It's kind of neat. That I considered just selling this and putting some money towards that. 'Cause it's got 2 terabytes built into it. it's cheaper probably to do that than buy another, because I've already got 2 terabytes in the back of it. And it's full. The space thing is like a problem with this generation, isn't it? It's a real problem.
They're getting close to the size of an actual like desktop tower.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, the game sizes, the file size are out of control. Like I just updated again last night where I was supposed to stream. I was updating it before. I just had Call of Duty add on another 46 gigabytes. So I had to delete 2 games to make space for it. Another 46 on top of the already 700 plus that it takes.
Sometimes you sit here and like, does this game really need to be that big? Could you compress it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want the Warzone. I don't want all the extra. All I play is zombies. That's it. I haven't even touched the multiplayer on the new one. Haven't touched it once.
I mean, but like, if you're gonna having games 100 to like 130 gigs, like on the regular file size from like 80 to about 130. On some of the newer ones, like you need more. You start having like 5 to 10 terabytes of internal hard drive space.
That's just the thing.
That's necessary. Unless you're going to be getting rid of and re-downloading, but that's really only a relevant option with high-speed internet. Something you could download a game in like less than an hour.
Yeah. I also just realized that this white one is digital only, so it's not one I would grab anyway.
Yeah. Hard pass.
Yeah, the 2 terabyte like had me legitimately considering upgrading to that, because I'm like, another terabyte already internally in it. I've got 2 terabytes in the back of it. Buying another, an additional. I don't even think they make the things beyond 2 terabytes for the Series X because they're proprietary. So that's why I'm considering it. The memory storage, the extra memory storage, proprietary. So you got,
which is crazy because like the size of certain memories for desktop, I think it's the M2. Like the same memory size, but the stick doesn't really change all that much as far as like its overall size.
How they've made, I mean, it's essentially the same thing. I wish I could. No, I don't want to yank it out there, but yeah, I don't know how that they've done that. They somehow cut it down and just shoved it inside of a thing, a plastic.
Because I don't know if anybody else, obviously you can Google it. Like if you have like the M.2 SSDs for a lot of desktops, because that's what I've got in mine. Mine's like a 2 terabyte.
It is an M.2.
It's like not even as thick as my phone.
I know,
and it's like
crazy.
It's like half the size.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how small 2 terabyte SSD actually can be.
Yeah, it really is. It's unbelievable. Yeah, memory is like a real problem this generation.
I think they're just getting cheap on it. Like, come on.
Like memory has gotten cheaper, but like still not cheap enough. Like when you get to, you can buy the PlayStation branded. You can look it up. I just heard about it this morning. 8 terabytes. It's $1,000. MSRP $999 for 8 terabytes.
You're getting ripped off. I'm sorry. You can find 8 terabytes even on SSD.
One.
Like,
it's the one. It's the digital. What's it called? Digital. I forget whatever the company they partnered with to make the official PlayStation branded ones. But I saw
like I pulled one up, and obviously this isn't an M2. It's a SATA 3 SSD from Samsung. It's the 870 QVO, but I just googled this. But that's 8 terabytes for $621, but that's still significantly. Or you get a 4 terabyte for $300. Obviously, these are there's different sizes of them, but like
what's crazy is their 4 terabyte is $349, but you jump up to 8 terabytes, it's $1,000.
How does realistically, it feels like they're just doubling. They're just doubling the price for terabytes when realistically it's not. It's just a way for them to make more money.
It's a way for them to make more money because if you buy 2 of those, that does not equal $1,000. But you can't put 2 in it, so that's the thing, right? So like they can do that price.
But even at this rate for a SATA 3 SSD, like it'd be like $800-ish for 10 terabytes. But I wouldn't pay that much money for 10 terabytes. At that point, if I need that much space, I'll just get a regular hard drive.
Yeah, just
like
get
a disk drive, because you just who cares about the speed? You're going to be capped.
M.2 and an external drive, all for my PC. I use all 3.
That's what I would say. Like if I'm then again, like if I'm real, this is just me personally. If I need 8 terabytes of actual hard storage that something's just going to sit on there and not be used, like yeah, like my games, my operating system needs to be on an SSD. You know, your boot files, as far as like computer goes. But like if I just need raw storage, like I'm gonna put this on a hard drive and use it when I need it. It's just far cheaper to get a regular hard drive. Yeah, it's gonna take a little longer to read and write and to pull and stuff like that, but it's just cheaper. But even then, I feel like 8 terabytes they could probably charge significantly less than $600, and they're still gonna make a profit.
Isn't it supposed to be that if you buy more of something, it's supposed to be cheaper, not more expensive? Like, isn't that how life goes? In and everything else in life?
That would be true if, say, you were buying like 100 1 terabyte SSDs.
So you gotta buy a bunch. To me, it's wild.
That makes sense when you're buying in bulk, but that's bulk as in you're buying multiples of the same thing. But that has to come down with the cost of the manufacturer. You're dealing with shipping costs and a lot of other stuff in between. That's when buying in bulk tends to be cheaper. The problem with this is it's still like a single product at the same time. It's just more internal memory.
It's just wild. That's a huge jump for for double the terabytes. Huge jump. I mean, that's like it should be, what would that be? $600. So it should be $700. Like around there.
Yeah, because I think I spent about $150 on my 2 terabytes. My M2.
Oh, I spent more than that on the 2 terabytes. On the 1 terabyte during COVID, I spent $200 on the 1 terabyte. The memory drop didn't happen until about late 2022 started happening.
Yeah.
And then early 2023 is when it really dropped down.
Yeah, that's what it's priced for now, because I've got I believe it's that I pulled up, it's the Samsung, I think it's the 990 Pro SSD, which is the one I have, the NVMe M.2.
That's what I
And on Amazon, it's about $170. I think I bought it at a Best Buy for a little cheaper. It might have been on sale or something like that. But that's not terrible. But like, as far as like in M2, I don't really need more than 2 terabytes. If I need more internal, first of all, I don't keep a lot of stuff like when it comes to gaming, because it doesn't take me that long to download stuff. Like if I'm not playing a game, I'm gonna get rid of it. It's just wasted space on the hard drive. But like if I was gonna like say I have like, hey, I'm gonna take all my movies and anime and stuff like that, I want to write it onto a external hard drive just to have a backup or do it somewhere else. I'm just gonna get a regular hard drive because it's just far cheaper, and I know that's gonna eat up a lot of space, and I don't need. Like if I'm just having like, it's like I said before, it's longer to read, or maybe not read it, but to write and pull and stuff. But like if it's just like a media like that, who cares how fast it is? If I'm streaming it, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that part didn't matter. That's mostly for the reading, writing. So downloading.
Yeah, but like if you're just
installation and things like that.
Yeah, but if it's like, that's like my thing. Like 2 terabytes, really all I'm gonna actively use. Anything more than that, it's going to sit there and just not move. So why waste the money on an SSD until that's essentially all there is?
Like I've got fiber internet, and it's still some of those games like that Call of Duty yesterday, for instance, when, I should have been, if I was streaming, it would have been a problem. Like I can't wait, the 8 minutes it took to do that, complete it. So there is instances like that where a lot of those I wanted to have on hand in case I switch games, because sometimes I do. Twitch, you can switch on the fly, so you can kind of do whatever there. But yeah, I mean, I totally get it. The 980 Pro is what I got first, which was the 1 terabyte that I had originally, and then got the 990 Pro.
Yeah, luckily. Yeah, luckily mine's not terrible. I was trying to pull it up because
I got 1 terabyte on my PS5 and 1 terabyte SSD for that. I have 2 terabyte SSD for the Series X, but the PS5 I use more now.
Yeah, unlike you, I use my PS5 for PlayStation exclusives. It's on my PC. Luckily, I've got fiber. There is some downgrade. I've had it for about a year and a half at my apartment when they upgraded. But like, it's not the hardest thing. Like. When and I'll talk a little bit more about this later when we got it. But when I got Blacksmith Wukong for the PC, it requires 130 gigs of available space on your on your hard drive or SSD. I just got an SSD, but I mean that 130 gigs probably took me about an hour to download, maybe just under an hour because I didn't like fully look at it, but 45 minutes to an hour. So it's not, at least for me personally, I can afford to it's not a straight fiber connection. There's downgrades as far as I think I'm still using like a Cat 5. It's not the Cat 6 or Cat 5e.
That's a cheap upgrade though.
It's not. I mean, I'm like when I do speed tests, I'm getting download speeds. What's it? The between 500 and 800 what's it, the megabytes per second or something like that. Megabits, sorry.
You're still getting better than most people get.
It's not terrible. And then between your actual router, what's it being plugged into, there's going to be, just because you got fiber doesn't mean you're going to get that full actual gig of download speed. There's other hardware on your side, plus there could be limitations on the server side of how quickly it can actually let you download stuff. But it's still fast enough for me to do anything. To be like an hour for like 130 gigs or like 100 gigs isn't really all that bad. And sometimes it's faster.
Than it was, for sure.
Yeah, because sometimes in that hour you got to think it's not all straight downloading. It also has to read and install and do some other stuff on the actual hardware. So you could, in theory, have limitations where you could download it fairly fast, and it takes a little extra time to actually install on your computer. But I still think that's an hour to download any game isn't too bad, because like if I have to download like a 5 gig game, that's gonna take me like less than 5 minutes to actually download and install. It's not that bad.
Well, you know what else is fast? Some Mario Kart sets on the way from Lego.
That's a fantastic segue.
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, no, I saw these come out, I think 2 days ago, because I put them in yesterday, I put them in Thursday in the notes, I think, actually. Yesterday was Thursday, so it would have been Wednesday. These are kind of cool. Kind of neat little Mario Kart sets. Got baby Mario, baby Luigi. Got some Toad going on here. It looks like maybe the first wave is the babies, Toad. I forget the one son's name that's one of Bowser's sons, and then Blue Yoshi, kind of random, very random characters to pick for, and Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it looks nice. Did they say that the sets range from $15 to like $80 for these sets?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see $150. You kidding me? Every set I've wanted from Lego the past 4 or 5 years, no less than $300, because they're all those. I wanted that NES set. I wanted the Mario block set that opened up and turned into Super Mario 64, basically.
The problem with this is like what they were showing from what I was looking at some of these pictures. I don't even think I'd pay $80 for all of it combined, at least from what they're actually showing. Unless there's something like this is just I just get ripped off.
It is a big ripoff because it's all plastic. But
that's my problem. I love
name attached to it.
I love Lego, especially some like the Lego Star Wars sets, because they look really cool. But I'm like $500. I can't justify that amount of money for that.
Do you remember how much a Star Destroyer was back in the day?
Like $800 or something like that. It was ridiculously expensive.
I remember the first thing I ever saw that was $1,000, and it was in the Lego catalog. I'm like, I want this. Oh, you're never getting that.
You're paying $1,000 for plastic,
and it's all gray plastic too. It was like the most boring looking set. It was just massive, like huge.
Yeah, like there's a lot of pieces, like several thousand pieces.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. There's different types of gray, and it to be authentic, and obviously a lot of sets like those don't always have the brightest color. But I'm like I just feel like I'm getting ripped off here.
It feels
like there's no way
every time.
There's no way you paid even a quarter of that to actually manufacture this.
No way. And this is cheap labor too. They're paying that cheap labor on this plastic.
Cheap labor. It's all done by machines. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah. I guess you're right. I mean,
have you actually seen?
Is all of it? Not all of it is. Like moving
no,
boxes,
obviously. Yeah, you've got other people, but like, I don't know if you've seen it, but I think there's videos on YouTube if you're able to. If you actually see the videos, actually how they make the Lego plastic molds, it's actually pretty neat. But I'm like, you're also paying out the butt for it.
No, it's very cool. I think I've always loved Lego. I've loved Lego since I actually really got into it from Joey's brother, because he had a bunch of Lego Star Wars sets. I went over there. I was like, I don't know, 7 maybe. I might have been like 7, 8 years old. I went over there, saw all of his really cool Lego Star Wars sets he had to put all around, and that's what got me into it. And that's how I found out about the Lego catalog and then the Lego magazine. And so I've been into it since I was a young kid. And before that, obviously, I had Lego sets even then, but I didn't know people like collected Lego sets. It was the first time I ever saw somebody collecting something like that.
Yeah, kind of, because I don't know about you, but growing up, obviously, I've owned we've always had Legos, the old boxes, they're just assorted pieces essentially that I grew up with. But even back then, I feel like the sets didn't get popular till later on, just because of how expensive they were. It's not a cheap hobby to get into.
Very, very niche at that point in time. But much later, I remember, because people stream Lego now. You can go on Twitch. I guarantee it. You see no less than 100 people streaming Lego.
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of that pop up in my feed.
Yeah, a lot of that, maybe your parents started getting into it, or people that grew up with it are now adults. They actually have disposable income, and they are able to buy certain sets, and they're great. But the other problem is, like,
they're so expensive.
Eventually, you run it. That some of them get big, and you need the space for a lot of these sets.
And then you end up either destroying it and trying to sell it for like a quarter of the cost that you paid for it, or it gets put in a closet. And
that's probably what I would do. Once it's together, I don't plan on touching it.
You don't ever rebuild.
It.
Yeah, I mean, like, who do you know that rebuilds the same Lego set multiple times?
Maybe when I was a kid, but those weren't actual sets. Those are just random Lego pieces you had to assemble whatever you're gonna, a really crappy looking plane or something like that. Or like, I put all these blocks together, have one of those little green bases, and you just put a rectangle looking building, but it's just you're putting every single piece together as it goes up.
Yeah, just build whatever.
And then you go outside and be like, okay, I'm gonna punch it and like break my hand because
they're pretty hard, man. Those sharp corners and stuff on Lego. Ooh. All right, so we got some. I guess dive in a little bit more on some Xbox stuff. So we got the game Towerborn, now limited time exclusive on Steam. Did you see this? This one, the Towerborn. This one is the one that I don't know much about. So there's a little trailer. Dang it.
Oh yeah, sound. No. I think I heard about it, that it was announced, but it looks kind of cheap, and I didn't really care for it. I know it's not necessarily. There's a lot of games that look cheap and they're good. This one just looked kind of cheap and bad.
It looks weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching it back now to the band. So it's from the Banner Saga developer Stoic. Set to launch on Xbox PC at the same time, straight into Game Pass day one. I don't know. It doesn't look like a me game. I mean, like, parts of it looks really cool. Like some of the monsters that just showed looked really cool when it got up close, but not like.
This is what we can expect from Xbox from now on. It's not a good sign.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's all I'll say.
Doesn't look like something I'd waste my time on. But
it's even coming to. I had to double check. It's even coming. Early access on Steam begins September 10th. You get this on Steam.
That's why I said it's a limited time exclusive on Steam. It's now a limited time.
It's not even an Xbox exclusive if it's on PC out the gate.
Yeah, so now it's coming to Steam before Xbox. I think because it's exclusive there first. How does that make any sense? Limited time exclusive on Steam. That's what this article says. I'm looking it up on
because that's what they advertised it. And early access just means it's in beta on Steam, so you can play it, while they're still working on it before you actually have the official launch.
That's still very weird that it's beta on Steam only, because I do plenty of betas on the consoles. Why can you not put the beta on your own?
This feels like a game that was always
ecosystem.
A game that was probably always destined for Steam, and then Xbox came in, but there were certain promises made because it looks like an indie studio made this, maybe, or maybe not indie, but a smaller studio. So they're like,
it's a free-to-play game, so it's obviously got a little bit of money put into it, I guess.
They're just gonna microtransaction the crap out of it.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like my type of game.
I just think it's ironic. Xbox game, but it's on Steam, not even on the Game Pass on PC, a whole different platform.
And
if it's free to play, you don't even need the Game Pass. Just get it for free on Steam. Screw Game Pass.
Craziness. I don't know. So basically, this just brings up the conversation we kind of sort of had earlier. No exclusives on Xbox. Nothing. Exclusive game they had coming is no longer exclusive in the beginning. Doesn't make any sense. So there's no reason the beta can't be on Xbox Game Pass, PC, and your console. There's no reason other than what you said, that it was agreed upon before. I mean, that's literally the only thing I think of. A lot of people angry at Xbox right now. It doesn't necessarily affect me directly. I just don't want to see Xbox go down. I don't want to see any of the companies that I enjoy go down,
I don't think they will.
road
They're
of
obviously
no longer having games.
But they've got so many game studios out there. Like, I get it's taking time, but like if you bought all these studios, some of these studios had to have had games already in the work. Like, what's going on behind the scenes? Or did you buy them and fresh restart across the board? Because that just means like at a minimum 4 years before you're realistically getting anything major first party. I mean, obviously we know Bethesda's next big game, like with the Elder Scrolls 6, probably not coming till maybe 2025 at the earliest, but probably 2026, 2027.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
So that's, you still have time for that. And that's
this
just
is going to bring about something that we're going to talk about in the big news, because you brought up, all it takes time to develop and stuff like that. When we get in the big news, we're going to talk about something about that, because it takes longer than people think it takes. Like, it takes a long time to develop games, from inception to release.
But I'll say this. With the amount of studios they have, knowing they were going to buy games, they had to have had roadmaps of like, you have years where you have different studios, you should be staggered out.
Now, but
like, hey, the studio's releasing the game this year. This is when the next game's coming out and stuff like that. They just need that for just general investors, so they're informed to some degree about what the plans are. But like, you're telling me all these studios, not one of your major studios has a game coming out at all in like it feels like 2 years? So when's like the last major game? Like 21, 22?
No, it was the end of last year. It was the big Bethesda game. That was the big game.
Oh, Starfield?
That was
it came out like
the game I was actually like looking forward to. Played day one, was absolute garbage.
Was a joke of a game. Yeah.
Yeah, that game. That was the last big game, because I freaking played. I was excited about it, man. I mean, it's like my type of game. It should be my type of game. Right now, their first party games, this is their roadmap. I'll let everybody know, listeners, stuff like that. August 26th, which is 3 days from now, World of Warcraft: The War Within. September 4th, Age of Mythology Retold. September 24th, Aura History Untold. October 8th, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. October 25th, Black Ops 6. November 19th, Flight Simulator 2024, Indiana Jones 2024 to be announced, which we already know about that now. Starfield Shattered Space 2024 to be announced. Towerborn, the one we just talked about, to be announced. Avowed, February 18th. South of Midnight 2025, Doom the Dark Ages, which I think is probably at the top of this. It's number one for me for sure. 2025, and Fable the Remake 2025. So like, that's a good roadmap, although some of those you could kind of skip over and kind of a joke, in my opinion. Like Flight Simulator 2024, do you really need to put that on there? Like,
that game comes out every year.
Did you really need to put that on there?
I'm like, yeah, they need to, but like Flight Simulator, that's one of those yearly games they put out. World of Warcraft, that's just a yearly expansion. Unless you're already playing that game, you're not really going to care.
Yeah, I mean, like the Starfield Shattered Space, I wonder, I'm curious, because I'm not going to say Bethesda can't turn that game around, and it hasn't been even a year yet. It's about to be. We had a year in November, I think. I think it came out in November last year.
Yeah, I think so.
But they still have the opportunity to turn that game around, because it still has potential. It just has a lot of problems. Yeah. And it's incredibly, and I guess, like, the story's boring.
Yeah, and I guess we'll get into it later, but like of other games, I mean, I guess next year should be a big year, because then they also announce what the Obsidian's Outer Worlds 2 is supposed to be coming out next year.
Yep. Yeah,
so like, I guess the problem is it's gonna have been over a year since your last major game release that I can think of.
This was pre-Gamescom. Everything I just mentioned was pre-Gamescom, so some of this just changed, which we're going to get into some Gamescom stuff.
But it's
here
still
shortly,
like they had nothing drop in 2024, like at all, as a whole year. Nothing majors dropping.
Starfield.
So that dropped like what, September of last year. So you're going like a year and a half between major game releases. Like, if you're
crazy.
a first party, it's frustrating. But I feel like this isn't the first time, because even when you had the Xbox One and the PS4, I felt like the PS4 always had major games properly staggered out for release.
Yeah,
and Xbox went huge droughts. Even with all the studios they have, it's like you're at some level you're mismanaging your studios because years out, you're not properly having your games in a development cycle where at least one of your major studios, at least once a year, is dropping a major game.
You got to have one huge banger at least a year, like one big game that is really put on the map for you that, hey, this is a game of the year contender. Like, this is going to be in the Game of the Year awards. As much as like that doesn't really matter to any of us, like that is like a, you know, that's a thing. How do I put this? It says you did something to have that potential, you know, your game being a game of the year. So it's good for investors. It's good for fans. If you got one big thing, it's keeping them around, and like maybe it can have a continuing DLC that brings them back around. Like Diablo 4 should have been that. Who says this doesn't turn it around? Because I didn't like Diablo 3 until the third installment.
Yeah, the problem,
I didn't like it until the third DLC drop for it.
Yeah, I want to say but Diablo 4 wasn't like an exclusive as a third-party game, because I have Diablo 4 on my PlayStation, on PS5. I played like 2 hours and I dropped it because I just didn't like it.
Same. I played it on PlayStation too.
But like that's a third-party. Like there's a difference between third-party big games coming out, and then like your Xbox.
Well,
hey,
it's first-party now, but like it's a first-party studio now.
Yeah, but the game itself technically isn't. It's
I get it.
Multi-platform, so I wouldn't consider it the same because it's a after the fact type of thing.
Yeah, I get it. It's gonna take a few years before that's like, okay, that's an Xbox game. You know what I mean? Like it takes a little. Same with PlayStation when they've acquired studios. It's been the same deal. Like,
but they feel like they were always dropping something, because even like maybe they didn't have a well-known first party, but say when the first I don't know. I got Outer Wilds on my mind. I got to pull up the game for a second.
You're thinking of the Other Wild, right?
No, I need to double check. The Horizon games, like Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
A game like they knew. I assume they knew, but it's like, hey, maybe not a lot of people knew about it or had a passing. It wasn't like a well-known IP. I guess would be a better way to say it. But it drops and it becomes a huge release, and it just becomes a new major IP.
Except that
they at least have those types of games. The VR one maybe. The second one wasn't overly. I've got issues with the game, but at large, I like the game for the most part.
It's fine. I like, actually, legitimately, I'm not joking here. I actually enjoyed the VR game more than I did too.
I'll take your word for it. I don't have VR to play it, so
it's not. And you're not missing anything. It's very much like a tech demo, kind of. It's basically.
I mean, you can't have like a
minimal story.
You can't have story in like a VR that most people aren't going to play.
It does have story, surprisingly, but it's like not. It's not worth buying a VR thing for. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with Xbox. There's a little bit more news we got on them. We'll run through the rest of these small news kind of quick, I think, because we got quite a bit of other stuff still. I put in there less than I thought was even going to fill out the show.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, you put the Chick-Fil-A, like, oh, this is funny. We spent like 20 minutes talking about it.
This is what we do it doesn't matter. I put in less than I thought would fill out 2 full hours, and still doesn't matter. Because we talked about memory for like 15 minutes.
That wasn't even like on a thing. We just went down a whole road of like hard drives and memory.
Okay, so we got this one. We'll do this one really quick. Pokemon trading card shop allegedly contained $1 million worth of drugs, basically. I thought this was kind of interesting because it gave me like a Walter White sort of impression. I'm like, why is this
Breaking Bad?
$1 million worth of Schedule 2 drugs hidden in the back? Like, what's going on here? How are they getting away with this, dude? I
think they said it was a shop in Hong Kong was where it was at, which is crazy.
Alleged to be 5 kilograms. It must be a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 5 kilograms in a staff-only area, the Pokemon card shop. And
Pokemon cards are expensive, so maybe they're just trying to fund their.
They give
Pokemon
like a little bit free
addiction.
with each sale.
I need the money to buy these myself.
Storing such a large quantity of narcotics in a place where teenagers and children can visit is irresponsible and disgraceful behavior that also heightens the possible risk of teenagers and children mistakenly encountering them, according to the Hong Kong Narcotics Bureau Inspector Ling Chu Hen. Perhaps inspired by Team Rocket.
Doesn't that make sense? You want to hire the most least conspicuous spot. They'll never think to look here.
It does make sense, but
for what we're looking for. Then again, I'm like, it'd be irresponsible wherever you have it.
Realistically, it is, yeah, because kids and families are everywhere, so doesn't really matter. I don't know. Weird. No, not a place crazy. I would expect that to be, though. I didn't know. I mean, I guess everywhere has a problem, right?
I'm just curious why. Like, why do you have this much?
I don't know. Craziness. We got, so I accidentally messed up an article here, I think. Okay. Yeah, so I was just gonna mention this too. Star Wars Outlaw spoilers online already. Linked online. No, surprise there. If you plan on playing the game, I am still pretty undecided. I think I'm more on I probably won't touch it because I'm on Star Wars burnout mode. So I just don't care. And the game's not looked really good to me the entire time. It just looks like something I wouldn't, and like I might check it out if it goes to Game Pass or Ubisoft service, or I don't have Ubisoft service, but something, if it goes to something like that or PlayStation Plus, I might check it out.
Yeah, but I know we talked about it. I know we've talked about it, but I think it's got two things. One, it just kind of looks like a by-the-books Star Wars game in a lot of ways, kind of bland, not inspired. And then it's, at least for me personally, it's Ubisoft. I don't trust Ubisoft at all as a studio as a whole. I think they made a lot of issues, as well as you're charging upwards of $130 for a game for 3 days early access, realistically, and some in-game cosmetics. I'm sorry, if you're spending $130 on any game, you're getting ripped off. I'm just gonna say that out the gate. Oh
yeah, I've never bought an Ultimate Edition. If it's not like a collector's thing with statues and all that, I've never bought a digital Ultimate Edition in my life.
The problem is, have you seen? I know we've talked about this before, and I don't want to spin on this too long, but you've seen it where hey, here's a map of these 4 editions that are all digital, and none of them has literally everything in it. It's oh, you gotta look at this map. This has this one has this, and this. Yeah. What is this? Just make it if you need 4 payment methods, just progressively add more and more content, but they don't always do that. Yeah, I don't like that anyways. I'm is there in-game cosmetics for a single-player game? Why are you having microtransactions in a single-player game?
Yeah, I never understood that, and Ubisoft has been the kings of that single-player microtransaction stuff. They are the absolute kings of that. So
it's so scummy.
It is pretty scummy, and I've had people justify things that maybe I hadn't noticed before, where there have been games with that stuff. For instance, Bethesda is the one that started that with the horse armor.
Oh, with the horse armor.
Yeah, and I bought the horse armor when the 360 closed down the other day. The horse armor is a joke, so I get a short out of
it.
It was
But I'll just say this: Bethesda's the most egregious and upfront your face with it, and unapologetic about it, because it's so consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least other studios, it's maybe they try to hide it or not be as greedy about it. But it's hey, you spent $130 in this game, and then here's another $500 worth of microtransactions you can spend. Give us more money.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know, man. I don't like it. I don't like the single player microtransaction stuff. I was trying to think if I've ever bought anything from any games that was the case, and I can't even remember back to the 360 or PS3 doing that. I don't remember doing it then, so I don't think so, because I know the Bethesda stuff I definitely didn't then. I may have bought some multiplayer stuff at some point, I'm sure, maybe sporadically, kind of here and there type of thing, but I don't remember doing it. I don't remember buying it. I just don't want to say, hey, I haven't done it at all, because I probably have. I just don't remember doing it. So I definitely haven't done it that much, if I have. But the single player stuff, don't like it.
Then for a game that just dropped, I think on the depending on where you're at worldwide, either dropped late on the 19th or sometime on the 20th of this week of August. Blacksmith Wukong just came out, and as far as the audience scores I've seen for it, people absolutely love it. I was able to get the game. I've only been able to play an hour or 2 of the actual game, but from what I played, the gameplay I've absolutely loved, and the game just looks really good. It plays like a mix between a God of War and a Souls-like game, essentially, where the mobs usually aren't a pain. The bosses, I don't think they're super difficult. I'm obviously not that far in the game, but You just take your time, properly dodge their attacks, damage them where you can. Obviously, healing stuff is somewhat limited and stuff like that, but I thought it was a really enjoyable game from what I've seen and played so far.
That's cool.
But it was announced that after 3 days across every single platform, it sold over 10 million copies as of 9 p.m. Beijing time on the 23rd of today. So
I wanted to shout out real quick.
A few hours ago.
Shawnee, the Great Gamers in the chat. He's a notoriously awesome dude in the game community.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, but because I think the game was at $60. Obviously simple. It sold over 10 million. So this game's already made over $600 million.
I told
this
Lucas,
game is going to make $1 billion.
Apparently,
I think it's going to very easily.
Inaccurate about this, and it didn't come from me. It came from, oh god, what's his name? That did the opening night live for Gamescom. What does the Game Awards?
I know who you're talking about.
Keighley.
Yeah.
So I heard him say this. It didn't come out of nowhere. I don't even hardly use Steam, but he said it was the most wishlisted Steam game in history. And
Blacksmith Wukong?
Yeah, Lucas pulled it up and he's like, look, it's not even in the top 20 right now. And it was out in a couple days. This was like 3 days ago. It wasn't even in the top 20.
Yeah.
So I don't know how is that the case? He said that, and I didn't pull it out.
Probably got his I don't know if he did it or somebody passed on bad information. I do know from what I saw, and I don't have to go back and clarify, but as far as like Steam charts, because I think you can use Steam DB to check like trending, how many people have like concurrently played a game.
Number one, I think.
From what I understood, and I don't know if this is historically, though some people were making the claim, but it had at one point over 2.4 million concurrent players on Steam at one point.
See,
it first hit 2.2 or 2.3, which was breaking records, and then it hit 2.4 like the next day.
Elden Ring is number one, the most wished.
Yeah, people are. Yeah, I don't know if these records are
Steam DB
concurrent, but at least in the first like 3 days of this game, it was the most played game concurrently on Steam. It was beating out every other game on Steam, which is not really a surprise.
Yeah,
but now that the game's out, people can see it word of mouth. This is a really good game. I think you're going to really like it, regardless of any issues you might have, because it's technically a Chinese game. It's developed in China. The whole Tencent stuff, I know, at least at one point, was a big issue that people didn't like. But it's a really good game. Obviously, if you're not aware, it takes a lot of inspiration from Journey to the West. A lot of Chinese, Buddhist mythology is definitely obviously baked into that.
Good stories.
I saw some good memes about it because obviously you play as a monkey, so it's like a
monkey.
The name Return to Monkey or Return to Monk or something like that. I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Oh man, no. Hollow Knight Silksong has 297,000 followers right now. Number one, which every time you go into a Nintendo Direct, what do they ask about? Hollow Knight, where's Hollow Knight Silksong? The last like 5 years. Every time. I mean, no, that's all I see. Like the whole chat, Hollow Knight Silksong is. I mean, Hollow Knight is a 10 out of 10. It is a 12 out of 10 game. So I get it. It's a phenomenal game. I am a little surprised to see that Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is number 2 right now. For the most followers on Steam. Yeah, and then Frostpunk 2, which I don't even know what that is number 3, and then Monster Hunter Wilds is number 4. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then I didn't have this pulled up, at least for you in the notes, but I definitely saw this article, and I saw people talking about it, about Blacksmith Wukong. It's PC Gamer, I believe, is the website. Had an article up saying Blacksmith Wukong drops like 2 million players in a matter of hours or something like that. As it came off, and based off of what the article felt like a hit piece, like attacking the game.
Oh, what is it?
And they pulled up like a certain thing for some of the charts. Obviously, there's other studios that did that. And then at the end, it's like, oh, people just logged off because you look at the time that this was taken. It's the evening, essentially. Like, oh, it's probably just people logging off. And then the next day, it spikes back up. And you're just like, what's the point of this article? Like, PC Gamer, like, what are you doing?
Trying to get an article?
But I mean, it's like, if you have been following, it's not the first time. People are calling the game sexist. Like, there's sexist harassment in the studio. And there's just one article. Obviously, the studio is just ignoring the media on this. Then it came out probably a month or two ago, I thought, somewhere in that, where they came out and it was reported that they came out and turned down Sweet Baby Inc. It's like a consulting, like, hey, we want to work with you, charge you what, like $7 million for consulting business or whatever they're going to do, and they just straight turned him down. I know that at one point was a big talking point because obviously, if you're not aware, the whole Sweet Baby Inc. has been an issue for like the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it DEI or stuff like that, and obviously there's a lot of stuff in here. I think it was Screen Rant wrote an article. And some of these you can obviously, if you search for this stuff on X, which there's a lot of article headlines that people have snapped and put together. But I did go to the Screen Rant review, and one of their cons I thought was funny and par for the course with the media. They said it's lacking in inclusivity and diversity, which, if you've actually played the game, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Because one, it's a game based on Chinese Buddhist mythology, and you're playing as a monkey. There's parts of it you're attacking like wolves, there's other random, actual creatures. So it's in that aspect, there's, I wouldn't call that differently, but some people say there's no female monkeys in there, so the game's problematic. And I'm just like, this is just so stupid. Like, I played the game; it's just a fun game. I guess at the end of the day, make up your own mind. But like, if you think you hate, kind of like politicians, if you think you hate the media, you don't hate them enough.
No, this is interesting. I just wanted to shout out Mr. Coffee, Mr. Radars in the chat. Yeah. He also said it's God. I just came up with this on my own. I said, this looks like the early God of War games to me. That's what it looked like.
Kind of plays like that.
And I didn't see any Dark Souls-esque stuff when I saw it. I told Lucas, this looks like old school God of War to me. So I'm glad that other people are saying that, because I didn't hear that anywhere. Yeah,
I don't have it pulled up. I know there was a report that the studio was saying they want the Blacksmith Wukong to be, it's like a start of like its own genre of gameplay, but it's kind of overlapping. I said Souls light, and mainly that's there for the bosses, as in you can't block, you have to roll dodge, you have to kind of let them go through certain motions. Like when they're attacking, you kind of need to get out of the way and then, kind of whittle the health down. But it's kind of mixed between that and certain levels of God of War. I think to me it kind of reminded me of the newer ones, maybe not the older ones, because there's no, at least that I've run into so far, the whole QuickTime stuff.
Oh, that's the new ones. The old ones didn't have.
But the old ones had a lot of QuickTime.
They had
1, 2, and 3.
They had some, but so do the new ones. The new ones have a lot of QuickTime events. Yeah, because there'd be a lot of things.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, I don't remember as many with the old ones. Like the PSP games, for instance. I don't remember any QuickTime events. I could be wrong, but I don't remember them at all. The new ones, especially God of War 2018, had a lot of. I was like, this is kind of getting annoying.
I never beat that God of War, so
that's potentially the best one in the series. Still, Ragnarok is great, but I think that 2018 was such a big shift for the series, such a massive change that it kind of needed, because it was getting stale. It got really stale.
No, fair enough. But regardless, like, if you just want an interesting story that's different, obviously, and just a really fun gameplay, that at least to me, I thought it was a really fun game and I enjoyed it. And, like usual, I just, ignore the articles, get off of Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, because that's just at times it's a really toxic place to be. But that's like social media as a whole. But if you just sit down and play the game, a lot of people like it. I think it's a really good game. Obviously, I'm only like 2 hours into it, so I've barely actually scratched the surface of what's there, and I want to get back and actually finish it. Maybe here in the next few weeks, maybe I should get around to actually finishing it. But I've had a good time from what I've seen, and you can really tell the high production value of the game. Like, there's a lot of money behind this game.
Yeah, China's got a lot of money to spend on their pop culture and stuff like that. Their
Tencent's got a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, they got a lot of money when we talk about money.
But it didn't feel, I'll say this, it didn't feel like they were forcing anything down you. It's just a well-written story based off of, essentially Journey to the West. A new take on that story and all the other mythology behind it.
Yeah, so for anybody out there saying we're trying to change Japanese, because I saw those comments. Like, what are you talking about, bro? This is developed by Japanese developers. Like, this is their doing.
Yeah.
Get your head out of your butt, man. Do some research before you make comments on the internet. It's getting really, really old. Do some reading before you go out and put a tweet out.
I love being uneducated on the internet. And what I mean like that is I'm sorry, I'll admit I'm a huge troll on the internet just because I find it funny. Because there's like a line I won't go too far, but like I'll be an ass on the internet. I don't think the internet, social media isn't real to me. because it's just not. There's a difference between social media and reality. That's the way I look at it. So I'll say stupid. I will say stupid stuff and kind of be a dick on the internet. But
no, man, I just don't like. I don't like the things. Well, let's put it this way, so people don't think that you're not out there like putting negativity on, like, you know.
I'm not out there harassing people. Sometimes I was just like, this
you're
is
not
stupid.
The one out there starting the rumors, you know, all this, you know, spreading the misinformation. This isn't developed by Japanese developers and that we're trying to ruin people's, you know, you're not trying to do all that.
I don't know. It depends on what it is, but it's like, this isn't reality. It's just, it's like not like a game, but a mix between the two. I'm like, this isn't, if you're getting worked up over something on the internet, you need to step away from the internet and go do something else. That's the way I look at it. It's same thing with gaming. If you're getting way too worked up about a game you're playing or something else you're doing, you need to just, because I see a game should be fun. You need to, you know, walk away, realize it's just a game or it's just the internet, and go do something else.
The thing is with that,
it's not that serious.
Unfortunately, because this is just how it is. This is just where we're at. Social media has become too much reality. There's too much reality in social media now. As far as,
it feels kind of like the what's it, like reality TV is what it feels like to me at times.
It's one of those things where, like, I don't like it, but it's too integrated in life and culture now to where, you know, like, there's people that the first thing they wake up and do is they get on social media. That's their you know, wake up routine type of deal.
If you want a good way to break that habit, don't have social media on your phone. That's for the bulk of it. I don't really have. I got technically I've got maybe a Facebook periodically, or if I need to, I'll install it on my phone for what I'm gonna use it for. Then I delete it. But a good way of practice for that is only access it on the computer, and that I'm usually don't want to do other things. So that whole death scroll thing is less of a problem if I don't have it on my phone and I do it on a desktop. It's not less of a problem.
All I do is work from social media, so getting things put up. So I work for some other people and run their socials. I don't scroll. I don't do scrolling anymore because I don't have time. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry. People get mad at me that I don't see their stuff now. I'm sorry. I literally do not have time to scroll. If I did that, I would have zero life whatsoever. So sorry, I don't have time for it. But there's, you know, and I semi get it with some things, but it's one of those things where it's unfortunate that we won't get into it because I won't get on a rabbit hole, but, you know, it's kind of ruined society. And I think it's the reason that, you know, we are where we are now. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic.
Hashtag defund social media.
Yeah, it'll never happen. It's funding life, apparently. Do you think Super Mario Bros. Is overrated as we get into the topics? It's kind of a short and sweet one there. Do you think it's overrated? Or maybe
not really. I think it's probably where it needs to be for the most part. Obviously, everyone has some games are better if you ask me, but it's just as far as a side-scrolling platformer
series.
It's a consistent, fun game. It's usually have tight controls. I've never had problems with the game, you know, being buggy at launch.
Right. I feel like it's the one where even the spin-offs, everything. You look at Mario Kart, that's the same energy. You look at Mario Tennis, the same. You know, it's a consistent. You know what to expect. But we got new content, new characters, new courses, new things like that in this game. So 2D Mario, you know what to expect every single time. I feel like Mario Wonder, for instance, threw a good loop into that to where it finally did change it enough for people that were like, okay, this isn't changing enough for me. 3D Mario, kind of the same, you know what to expect. Is probably going to be better than the last one, like it usually is. Like it usually gets better and better. Super Mario Odyssey was like a 10 out of 10 game. And I think most of them are. The only one I would say that's like a 9 out of 10 for me is Sunshine. It was the most weirdest 3D Mario in the series, if you will, because you got, you know, jetpack mechanic and stuff. Will Xbox become a software only company like Sega and leave the console space, do you think?
I think we've talked about this before, and I think it's leaning that way. But there needs to be a huge shift in hardware sales or where people are gaming for that to go that way. But it kind of feels like that because it feels like they're buying up all these software studios that make games, and then they're trying to just push a box that does everything. That's the original Xbox One. It was more of less of a gaming platform, more of an all-in-one
entertainment
platform for entertainment. That's kind of feels like what they want to do, but if it feels like if they lose money on the hardware, which I don't think they're going to do, not to that degree. But I mean, who knows where they're going to be in 10, 20, 30 years. It's hard to tell. I'll say it's not an impossibility, because who thought Sega was ever going to completely drop out?
Right,
especially if you look back to the early to mid 90s when it was between them and Nintendo that were hand in hand. I think it was Sony that really knocked them out. Sony was doing things differently.
Yeah. They almost knocked Nintendo out. I mean,
a few times, but Nintendo always had solid games, at least first party games even back then, but it felt like Sega tried to do something and it just didn't work. And then they had multiple failures after a while, and they just couldn't financially.
The Saturn was a complete and utter failure, even though it's my favorite Sega system, especially now in 2024. Sega Dreamcast is second for me. It also, unfortunately, that's like, I would say I see most people's favorite Sega console. Nowadays, it gave us stuff like Shenmue, Sonic Adventure, some absolute Crazy Taxi, so many classics, games on it. So many good games on the Dreamcast. But yeah,
a console that just didn't sell.
It just didn't sell, man, and it's unfortunate. The 64, like, if it weren't for Nintendo's first party bangers, I think Nintendo had the possibility of failing, because that had so little third party support that's not even funny. Realistically, it has one of the smallest libraries ever. Like it, and I'm not talking about stuff like Tiger R Zone, where there's like 7 games and things like that. But like for a mainstream console platform, it had very little games. I think like 200-300. And you look at NES and it's got, like 2,000 games. And you look at Super Nintendo and it's got, like 1,700 games and things like that. So
what, the PlayStation 2 has like 10,000 games, it feels like?
Yeah, it's got a lot. It has the most games. Crazy enough, it has more than Wii. Which is
crazy.
The second biggest library. I would have.
I don't know. Are we counting shovelware in that?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's at that point. It's like, hey, let's get like 1,000 more developers in here with some shovelware, so we can have the biggest library of games.
It's like the precursor to mobile games, is what it felt like.
Basically, yeah. Basically, that's literally what it is.
It was like $2 for like a Flash game that you'd find online for free that you'd pay $40 once for like 10 minutes. Yeah.
You're not wrong, because there was a lot of those like puzzle games on the Wii, like a lot of those really cheap puzzle games that like had no value at all, and they'd be like $40.
You're like, you're just getting ripped off.
Like, what's going on here? I got this on my Nokia phone. What's the last Call of Duty that you enjoyed? I know it's going pretty far back for you. It's not as far back for me.
If you've been following for a while, you probably know what I'm going to say. It's the first Black Ops, because it's the last Call of Duty game that I actually owned and actively played.
Yeah, so going pretty far back for you. Before it would have been Black Ops 2 for me. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, and because it's cursed, I had it on the Wii, and I played the multiplayer on the Wii for quite a bit for Black Ops 1.
Oh, no, I love the Wii games. I think they're great. I've got the Wii, I've got a couple of I'm going for the full set, so now I got to get all of them. But I had, back in the day, Black Ops on DS, World at War on Wii, which I finally have again. And they're fun. They're fun, actually pretty fun, especially if you got any of the rail guns, like to keep it, if you use like the Zelda Zapper, you could use that.
I've used it before, but I don't know if I had or used it when I played Black Ops.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It's been like 15 years ago. Right. I just can't remember.
I didn't.
It was like what? When did that game come out? Like 2010, 2011, something like that?
That sounds
maybe it came out in 2012.
Yeah,
I thought it came between 20. I've got a computer in front of me. I'll just Google it.
Yeah, I can't. I think it's 20. It might be 2012. 2012.
Nope, 2010. November 2010. So it's close to the first time.
Yeah.
I was like, we're guessing here. I'm like, I've got a computer in front of me. We're streaming.
I can look it up.
I just
yeah. My favorite now is World at War, and it kind of was then too. It was World at War or Black Ops 2. But that remains my favorite. I really enjoyed, though, Black Ops Cold War. I really enjoyed it. Took me back to Black Ops 1 and 2. Like, that's what it felt like. I heard a lot of good
things about it.
So good. I mean, like, it could be a standalone, like, ignore that it's Call of Duty, because it is a really good game. The zombies in it is great, and the story is great. I can't speak so much on the multiplayer, because I don't play that anymore. It's just too stressful for me. Just can't get into it.
I do have a question. Have you played Modern Warfare 3 for the PS5?
I've been streaming it. Yeah.
I was gonna say because you got the poster behind
I've
you.
been streaming it. Yeah. Yeah, mostly because I do have the poster back there, and I want to play the new one at launch. So I signed up for the beta, so we'll see what happens. But
yeah, beta Brandon.
There's a closed beta and then an open beta, so it's not that big of a deal if I don't get. Shut up.
I like how there's like a 10-second delay on that.
It took a second. Okay, so there's a reason I'm asking this. I wanted to share the info with you, but first, have you played any of the Sword Art Online games? I know about one that you play because we both played it.
I've played one, and I've only played one because I think I bought it on Steam. I can't remember if I ever actually had any physical, but I do remember having and playing Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, which actually has, they say mostly positive all time, mixed reviews. I have exactly 0.3 hours of playtime on that game, and I dropped it. I didn't like it at all. I hated it. That's not the one I played. I played one on Vita. I think it was called, I can't remember what that one was called that I played on Vita. But the reason I brought it up is the last 4, including the newest one that came out the end of last year, are on PlayStation Plus. So, like, if you wanted to play any of those last I saw that.
Yeah.
And I grabbed them all because
I did too.
I already paid for it. So it's for God knows if I'm ever actually going to play them. But it's like, hey, free games. I'll just take them. Never going to play most of them, but I have it. I
want to play that newest one because it legitimately looked really good when I watched the trailer last year. But I downloaded all of them too. I wasn't sure if you would see that because I normally don't look at like the newest. Like sometimes I do, but not that often. But I was like, hey, I mean, yeah, why not? I'll definitely check this out. I also don't know if I assume to some degree they're tied into the anime because I haven't watched Sword Art Online since like the Gun Gale saga. That's like what, season 3 or something like that. Oh, I watched the first one and whatever the second. Yeah, so I think it was the Sword Art saga. It's the Elfim Online. The Fairy one was the second arc essentially, and then the Gun Gale was the third arc, and that's kind of when I fully lost interest and dropped it. Yeah, I didn't watch season 3. I didn't watch Gun Gale, but I watched the first 2. I loved the first season. Season 2 it wasn't as good. And then I guess season 3 was crap. Is that what you're saying? Like I haven't watched it's been like 10 years since I've actually watched the show. Season 1. Although I still liked it. It just was nowhere near as good in my opinion, season 2. And it was kind of writing Attack on Titan thing. It's like that Attack on Titan. That season 1 was so good, and then it just progressively got worse. Actually, I would argue season 1 is probably my least favorite season to watch of the anime. For Attack on Titan, because for Sword Art Online, because they're supposed to be in this game for 2 years. You get like 6 to like 9 episodes of 2 years worth of time. It just felt like there's more that could have been done with being stuck in an MMO. You die once and you die in the game, you die for real. So much potential with that story. And it was just mishandled, boggled. It felt like maybe some of these games, because during that time there were games that were coming out too, like Vita, obviously, that was around the time of the shows launching. I feel like those were meant to, obviously, I assume they're not canon, but I feel like maybe there were some that were canon that were meant to fill out the story, because I remember there being a Sword Art Online game that came out sometime just shortly after that first season, and I remember it being attached to the season when I played the Vita game. I remember it being attached to the show, so it was like something in between the show, like, so it was like kind of filling stuff out. Watching this, I'm confused. I don't know who half these characters are. I'm watching the last Recollection
I know they're from
trailer.
I know they're from later seasons, but yeah, so technically I only watched the first season because a lot of those characters I think are from season 3, the Alicization arc or whatever it is.
Watch season 3.
But that one, I'm trying to figure out what. I think season 3 came out in 2018, so it's been a hot second. I didn't watch any of season 3.
And this game just came out late 2023 from what I saw. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's something about that season 1 that I'm very attached to during that time, because I don't know, maybe that's because that was the time that I got back into anime for a bit. Yeah, I feel like that's why. Before. The first time you're watching it, it was airing. It was like 2012, so it's back into the whole watching the weekly episode type watching
thing.
It while it's new.
On a really crappy free streaming site.
Yeah, Yeah. We were watching one. I really enjoyed that. Although, kind of short period of getting back into anime. I feel like maybe like 2 years because Attack on Titan I watched during that time. Also, Sword Art Online and Attack on Titan were the two big ones. They were like massive, and they've culturally become massive anime, or just franchises. There's something about that period of time that was really special to me, though, that I got back into it because there was some good stuff that came out. There's definitely other ones. Araimo, obviously not mainstream. Most people.
Such a weird show.
It's very bizarre, and especially it's something I would never watch now. But it was not what you think.
Help me, stepbrother! I'm stuck in the dryer. That's the feeling that show had.
Right. I don't know what it was. I think it had something to do with the. It was kind of funny at times, and none of that stuff like really kind of happened during the show that I remember. Like the weird things that the premise of the show was like kind of centered around. There was, yeah. There was some other stuff too. I just can't remember off the top of my head that came out, but yeah, I've kind of gotten back into it recently. I watched 2 episodes of the new Rurouni Kenshin now because I had only watched one before. Watched the movies. What else did we watch? I watched 2 episodes of that show that you wanted me to watch. I can't remember the name for it.
The my dear friend.
Very weird show.
Koro Shokuno. It's the deer anime. If you're you probably know what you're talking about if you're actually active up with that stuff.
I feel like you made me watch it on purpose as a joke.
Oh, I did.
Oh my god! I thought he was gonna take it seriously. I thought you were being serious with the show, but it's bizarre.
It's a weird Japanese comedy show with deer.
Yeah,
best you could say.
Very weird show. And there's been guess what show I did watch 3 episodes of again though. It's something that we both love. Yu Hakusho.
Actually, You say that. I was actually at one point rewatching it. I was doing schoolwork periodically. I have some mind-numbing time or something like that, so I'll pull it up periodically.
I love it.
I think I'd recently rewatched like the last 20, 30 episodes or something. I don't remember. I think it was right after. No, they were going. What I had recently watched. I hadn't watched it in like 3 weeks at this point, but I was at one point doing some other stuff, so it was just something to listen to. I got up to where they were. It was Yusuke versus. He was at a Genkai's place essentially for the first time, trying to win her thing, and it was. I think I stopped right after he got past, or essentially winning whatever it is, that little tournament they had there with Genkai.
There's something about those tournaments in anime during that period that was kind of captivating, but they were like obsessed with tournaments. Any show.
I think that show tournaments. That show peaked with what's the Dark World tournament. It was like season 3 or something like that.
Yeah. I would say probably, yeah. I like the whole show. I've rewatched it multiple times. No,
it's a really good show. It's one of the few. I just want to say it's one of the few shonen shows that actually had an ending to it. Didn't drag on for too long. The story actually kept a pace and kept moving on.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that you can kind of watch through the whole thing. Filler is there, I guess, but to me, it's so integrated into the show, I didn't even notice it then. And I've rewatched it 3 or 4 times, and I really don't notice it, any of the filler aspects that much, and I still enjoy the show. Like, I enjoy the thing all the way through, no skips.
Probably have to actually read the manga to figure out, like, all right, what actually is filler? Like, watch it and go back and forth.
And you'll kind of sense some of it, but it's still entertaining, and that's all that matters to me. So, I'm still entertained by some of the Dragon Ball Z. Some of it's horrible, where they're just charging up the whole episode and talking.
I think fake Namek is one of the worst filler arcs.
Oh god, there's some rough stuff there, but such good times, man. Okay, so last topic, 2024 personal game of the year, closing in the final stretch of game releases. Yeah.
So I worded this kind of weird actually, but it was kind of like, to this point, like, what do you feel? Because obviously we're coming into about to be September. Essentially, we're coming to the last quarter of this year, so we pretty much know either the games already come out or we know what the last big games for this year are going to be. Like, where are you at as far as maybe a personal game of the year, or like what kind of games did you feel like you were going to like actually make like the game of the year awards? Like, if you had to pick the top 5 games you think would actually make it.
And that's a rough one because I want to say I want to say things like some of the more mainstream games that have come out this year, like Tekken 8 came out, but like I haven't played it and I don't hear a lot of chatter about it. Really, I haven't heard anybody say anything good or bad about it. You know, there's been some other stuff like Persona 3 Reload would be at the top for me. Although I've only put maybe like 20 hours into the game, I already know it's great. I've heard from everybody else phenomenal things, and you just got the announcement for the next DLC for it, like actual DLC story, and that's really cool. I haven't got to the DLC yet. Obviously, I probably got like another 80 hours for just the story, roughly. I mean, I could have, you know, it could be like 50, 60, but I always instantly get to the 100-hour mark when I think of a Persona game. Like, I already know this is going to be a 100-hour game, 100%. It could be more. If we talk like Persona 4 Royal, or Persona 5 Royal, sorry, you know, you could have easily 180 hours into that game. Easily.
Oh, just JRPGs in general, they could take quite a lot of time.
And then there's like some other things, like stuff like Helldivers 2. Again, I haven't played it, but I feel like it's got to be up there for Game of the Year. I don't know what.
My only problem is it felt like it's kind of dropped off in popularity.
It definitely
when
has.
It came out.
It definitely has, but it made a big splash.
Because I know at least probably my top 2 games, at least personally, that I played is Stellar Blade, and then obviously the few hours I put into Blacksmith Wukong.
Yeah.
Though I feel like if you actually had to sit down and ask me, I think Blacksmith Wukong for sure is going to make, say, as far as like the big game awards in the year, that game has to make it, and probably as it stands right now, I feel like that's going to be the game that's going to actually win it. I would say Stellar Blade, you know, should make the cut for Game of the Year. Probably not going to win it. I would say
Stellar Blade would make it over that,
but to be fair, I feel like it's got the chance to be shafted.
Well, you know what? You're right. Now that I think about it, yeah. I don't know about Blacksmith Wukong. I don't know if it's...
I mean, you feel like popularity, sales, and just how good the game looks and plays. I think it probably going to win the fan game of the year, and I think it has to make the list, regardless of what some people in the media might not actually like about it.
The Game Awards, I thought you meant like me personally.
It was a mixture of both. That's kind of what I was feeling, like personal and
Unicorn.
I had started to think about it.
Unicorn Overlord, one of the most beautiful looking games I've ever seen. But do I think it's going to win? It might win a category, one of the weirder things. But
as far as like Game of the Year specifically, as far as thinking about the Game Awards specifically, there is a popularity. Like a game has to be popular. It can't just be a good game.
Yeah.
Because I look at some games like maybe the Yukid Chronicles was a decent game, but I don't think it's going to make Game of the Years. As far as like Game of the Year,
Final Fantasy Rebirth is 100% going to the top.
Yeah, I think it should be up there. I think I had it pulled up for a second.
I feel like it wins Game of the Year. I'm trying to remember what else has came out this year that I haven't played but is a big game. Because there's like
technically maybe Paper Mario, but I don't think Game of the Year. You've got the Zelda game coming out in about a month, but that's iffy if it would make the cut because it's technically like a side story. If it was a mainline Zelda game, then obviously.
Although, let me just
mention Hades 2 that came out.
That game is looking better and better every time I see it, and it looks to be the Tears of the Kingdom for the 2D Zelda. Like it looks to be an open world game and like huge, so it does maybe have a potential there for something.
Oh yeah, no, but I was thinking like Hades 2 has got the chance to make the cut. Cause I think the first one did. You have Dragon's Dogma 2. Felt like a big game, but it felt like after the game came out, it felt like people just kind of forgot about it. Obviously, the Shadow of the Erd Tree for Elden Ring was a big one, but obviously it's not a new game, so it's not going to be the contender. But I think that DLC is going to win an award somewhere.
And then
as far as like continuing.
Not to interrupt you, sorry, Mark.
No,
you're
fine.
Shout out a few people in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't have it on my main screen the one time I do. We got the Rushmore Show Top 4 Ranking Podcast in the chat and saying, hey, Brandon and fam.
Up?
We got Video Game Lover 58, and then we also got Mr. Coffee said Sword Art isn't as good as it used to be. The WoW of video games. It was great when it came out, but compared to what is out today, it's just okay. I mean, that
technically
might be true.
As far as Sword Online wasn't the first to do that. It was technically it was a .hack sign or slash sign.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, it's the most boring show I ever watched in my life.
Really?
I would never recommend. I love it so
.hack.
much.
I like the games better.
No, the first .hack,
okay.
.hack on the shelf. .hack sign. I think was the first one. I absolutely hated it. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was good.
I can't comment because it has been a long time since I've watched any of the anime.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
You just brought it back up.
I loved it back then.
Yeah.
So sorry about that, guys. Not ignoring anyone in the chat.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
Get on my main computer here.
As far as like some of the other games before, I don't know why you pull that up. I think Assassin's Creed, just because it's got the chance to be popular, and but it's also, at least to this point, feels like it's massively controversial. But I think that game's got a good chance to make the cut, just because it's an Ubisoft game, and it's regardless, it's going to sell well. I don't know how you feel about Rise of Ronin. I bought the game, haven't got a chance to play it. I
haven't played it yet. Yeah, I got it as well, and haven't played it yet.
And I may be missing one or two that hasn't come out. Because obviously there's other big games and stuff like that. I just don't feel like because I thought about this only a few days ago. I was like, what game actually has a chance? Maybe Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I don't know how well it did. It came out at the beginning of the year.
I haven't heard anybody really talk.
But I don't.
When it first came out, people said, "Yeah, this is."
That's
really
the
fun,
problem with some of these games is they make it. I think it's for most games, but a lot of games make a splash and they kind of go away as far as game of the year. Some people remember the back half of the year because it's still new and relevant.
That's the problem. Like things that come out, come out in the early, January, February, March, April. Like people forget about them. People just completely forget about those games.
Which I think, as far as like when Stellar Blade came out, it had nothing else to go against it, and I think that game is gonna stay relevant, especially if they decide to drop, say, a DLC trailer or announcement for it, bring that game into the backlight. It would make sense. Personally, I would put it in my top 5. I want to wait because there's still other games to play, but I really like that game personally. I think obviously it has issues. I don't think it's going to win Game of the Year. You have the Indiana Jones game, whether it's about to come out or just came out.
It's not out yet. December.
Yeah, that's got the chance maybe to make a splash, but I don't.
Let me tell you,
I don't think it will.
December is a month where video games go to die. Like nothing is ever successful in December. It's the least selling month of the year for video games because Christmas.
Because I was thinking like for holiday stuff like that, it means you're busy. You have to release it at the latest mid-November because you think of Black Friday right after Thanksgiving. Yep. That's when the holiday season really starts.
Right.
And you need a game to come out, to make noise, it to be popular. So when you get into that early holiday season, which is November realistically for some people, they already have stuff, being reserved or people looking into certain things.
Yeah.
So like realistically, early to mid-November is like the latest a major game has to release as well, especially when it comes to the cut for the Game Awards, because that's in December. There's a cutoff date for a game to release and technically, make the cutoff for that awards. And I think the last major release is going to be the Assassin's Creed game. I guess technically you got Star Wars Outlaws, but I don't think it's going to make a splash and make the top 5 for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen. Obviously, some of these games aren't out yet, and we're just very speculative about it. But as a whole, there's only probably maybe 5 to 10 major game releases all year if you actually add them all up that were actually massively successful and to some degree relevant in the culture, the whole gaming landscape to some degree, even if it was for only a few short weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I
think Skull Bones should have been one of those games.
It's going to
fell off.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for me. It's just such a great game. I had so much fun with it. I spent the most time with it this year. So.
Yeah, but as far as like games, I don't know if it'll win though.
I don't know, Mark. You doubt me
I don't know.
Too much.
I think Blacksmith Wukong has the inside track.
Dude, look at sales. All right, can you look up sales real quick on versus those two? Because I feel like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has probably outsold that like 5 times over. It's had
this game that just came out like less than a week ago.
I know,
and I think it's absolutely gonna.
Those first week sales are the biggest sales. Those are going to be the biggest. So whatever that first week for Final Fantasy was versus Blacksmith Wukong's gotta be. I mean, it's gotta be at least 5 times more. I could totally be off base, but it's Final Fantasy.
I mean, I don't think this is like a hard thing, but I think it's relevant. I got something back from May 1st.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think it came out end of April, right? Or it might have been in the beginning of May.
This article that I pulled up is absolute garbage. Thanks, IGN.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to pull it up. But Mr. Coffee said, I think 2024 is brutal for video games. Seems like the
I think
industry was still recovering from all those studio shutdowns and massive layoffs. The other thing that we have to keep in mind, this is the final year of the Switch, and we still had a full year of Switch games. Whether you pick those games up or not, doesn't matter. I mean, I picked up 3 or 4 of them already this year, and there's still more to go because we still got Paper Mario and stuff like that. Or not, sorry, not Paper Mario. What else is coming out? Trying to remember. I can't remember. Oh, obviously Zelda is the big one. But I mean, as far as like, it's crazy. They still out final year of the system. They still fill out the entire year with the releases, and the new Mario Party is still coming out, and new Zelda and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited. But yeah, I mean, they still seem to.
Okay, so I pulled this up from back in April 11th on PushSquare.com. They had reported that Final Fantasy VII has sold around 2 million copies worldwide for the PS5.
And how much has Blacksmith sold? That does not sound right. 2 million copies. That's it.
Blacksmith had sold in its opening days 10 million worldwide.
Oh,
what? But this is also stuck on the PlayStation alone. It's a first party. But I don't know how accurate this is.
2 million? That does not.
They said the PS4 right. version, and they put in Rebirth's predecessor managed to sell 3.5 in just 3 days.
3 days. Oh yeah, that sounds more like.
But that was the PS4 version and Rebirth predecessor both managed 3.5 in 3 days.
I don't know.
Which is still well short.
Of, totally off base on the sales. I'm not a sales guy. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know how accurate, but 2 million doesn't seem like a whole lot for maybe lifetime 10 million.
It doesn't sound right either to me. That sounds totally up, like way too low.
The problem is I can't find anything.
It's okay.
People talking.
It's not that big of a deal. Regardless, like you think Blacksmith is going to be there. I don't know. I haven't played it. I actually haven't heard much about it. All I've heard is about the negativity or the controversies around it.
Well, you've heard it from me first. I think it's a really good game. And I've had for the little I've actually played, and I want to get back into playing it. I really liked it.
Hey, let me ask you: is it as much as this?
There's one positive thing, at least for me.
Is it cool as this?
The Astro City from Go Sega.
Yeah, the Japanese candy cab arcade cabinets.
That's pretty dope. So it's got 37 games.
It's pretty sweet. I've had this for a while. I've never opened it. I've had it for like 2 years or something.
That's crazy.
I'm going to open it. That's why I got to sit down here finally. I said I no longer want or care about. I mean, there's a few things obviously I'm keeping it that way that I'm not going to open, but I don't care about sealed stuff anymore. I just don't. I stopped caring a long time ago. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't want stuff laying around that I can't use. It doesn't really make sense.
No, that's fair enough.
The more I think about it, but yeah. Anyway, what do we got next?
We got some Gamescom announcements. Go right into some of the big stuff.
Just get into the 2 hours in. Started late though. Again.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. All right. So what we got first for Gamescom? I'm trying to pull this stuff up here.
Yeah, I had to pull it up for a second. Obviously, Dune Awakening.
Yeah, it looks good.
They had an announcement for it.
Looks really good.
To be fair, it's not the kind of IP that I would expect to do well as far as a video game. I'm sorry if maybe the new Dune movies that I still need to watch changed it. But if you watch the old, was it the 80s Dune? Especially if you've read the book. Oh, it's so dry at times. Like I don't know how you would turn this into a game. It's so dry, so politically charged narrative. How do you turn this into a game? That'd be my first thought.
The 2 new movies are phenomenal. So first of all, you gotta watch that because the first one, easy 10 out of 10. I really liked the second one, like easy 8 out of 10.
And that's crazy because even the old, I think it came out sometime in the 80s, as dry as that one is at times. I enjoyed the movie, to be fair. That and the Children of Dune, the first 2 movies that they made, and they're very dry movies. Big portions of movies where it's not anything.
Part of that's just the time it came out and like the type of it was it wasn't like a high budget movie at the time.
No,
it wasn't a high budget movie.
The story itself is also really, it's just dry at times.
The new ones make that a lot more creative. There's creative freedom with the new ones in like a good and positive way that I really, really like them a lot. And so do other people. I recommend you to watch those 2, Mark. I think you would very much enjoy them.
Actually, you say that. I think I have. I do. I've got the first one on Blu-ray on my shelf that I bought. I just never got around to actually watching it. I think that was right before the second one. I was like, I want to go watch the second one in theaters, and I never watched this one. Never actually got around to watching the first. I've heard people say they like
the second one better than the first one. I think I like the first one better, but I still love the second. Like, it's still a phenomenal film. Like, cinematography, the way the film looks, and like the aesthetics of everything. It just looks. It's a very pleasing film. And this game looks really good too. Like, the game, it looks good. It looks like a Halo. It gives me Halo / Gears of, like a mix of Halo and Gears of War vibes. Like, it's obviously not first-person shooter, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the cutscenes look really good. The problem is some of the gameplay scenes look kind of cheap-ish, or maybe it's just the art style.
I'm watching it in like 480p right now, so it doesn't affect the stream, but so I can't really
fair enough.
The quality. But
I guess I'll remain skeptical for it. I mean, with any new games or movie tying games have a long history of not being good for the most part.
Yeah.
But I mean,
new trailer for Indiana Jones though. You excited about that one? Because I know I am.
I haven't liked the last 2 movies that came out, so I'm not.
Well, thank God this isn't.
I'm extremely skeptical. Both. What's it?
It's a different medium though.
Was Dial of Destiny the last movie that just came out, or is that a game?
I didn't even watch it.
I didn't care for it. And then the Crystal Skull, I didn't care for.
That's the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Actually, there's only 2 Indiana Jones movies I actually like.
Yeah, first
and that's no, the first and the third. So it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then the Temple of Doom's the second one. The third one is
I like Temple of Doom. It's not great, but it's good.
I'm blanking on the name.
What?
The third movie.
Oh, Indiana Jones and the Crystal. Or hold on.
No, the Last Crusade. Those are really the only 2 ones. I don't mind Temple of Doom, but I just don't really care for it.
Dial of Destiny, I just thought it was a stupid name, so I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
I think that's dumb.
I also think
that sounds stupid.
Raiders of the Lost Ark also has. Oh my God, I just had his name and I lost it. Sean Connery. It had Sean Connery. I thought really made the movie good. I don't know why I blanked on his name for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about you. I'm just kidding. No, the trailer I think looks really good though. I'm pretty excited for the game. It's a different medium. I'm not even going to bring the movies up into the conversation because
I think it's hard to.
This is all different people. It's a different medium. I get that it's hard to, but I think it looks good. All the press around it, other than we're gonna put this on PS5 and everything else like real quick, and it's not gonna be an exclusive.
In theory, this should work because if you look at like Tomb Raider, like it's definitely like a successor of what Indiana Jones used to be. It's the same exact medium. Just take Indiana Jones, make him a female essentially. With Lara Croft, but it's the exact same type of medium. So in theory, this should work really well. I've just had a lot of issues with a lot of game developers recently where I'm gonna wait to make a decision.
You're gonna remain skeptical.
I've been burnt too many times.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
Yeah, this game should be good. It's been done both with Tomb Raider and with the other Naughty Dog game.
Yeah, Uncharted.
I'm talking Uncharted. Yeah, it's the same genre essentially. So you just have to copy those games essentially, and it fits perfectly.
Ideally, you take any of the Uncharted games, they're good. They're all good. I'm in the minority in saying the very last game that doesn't even have Nathan Drake in it is the best game because I still think that The Lost Legacy, it was like a semi spinoff of the last game, but it doesn't even have Nathan Drake in it. I think it's phenomenal. I think the Vita game's good.
Yeah.
I love everything Uncharted that's come out. I bought the new
I've only
editions.
Played the first 3, and then I still need to actually beat the third game. I've beaten the first 2 multiple times. I've not actually gotten around to fully beating the second. I got most way through the story, but those are all 3 really really good games.
Yeah.
Even for how old even the first one is, how they think they've aged pretty decently well for the most part.
I think so too. I'm pretty excited because that's what I had in mind. I was like, if they just like copy pasta, Tomb Raider and Uncharted, like there's nothing should go wrong here. Nothing should go wrong here. So and it looks visually, it looks very stunning. So there's obviously money put into this game. We got there's another look at Star Wars Outlaws, so if you want to check that out, there's a trailer for that. Next one, I am stoked for this game, even though I won't be able to play it unless I get the system. The Batman Arkham Shadow. Did you see this VR trailer for MetaQuest 3? This looks like an actual...
I did.
Yeah, I think it looks great. And it's the best tweet I've ever had in history. Went crazy. 72,000 views on this tweet. And so I tweeted out immediately, like, just as soon as like I saw it, because I was excited about it. I was like, this looks really good. Too bad I don't have a MetaQuest 3. That was my tweet.
Yeah.
But like, this makes me want one even more, because I already wanted one. We talked about it. You want one as well. I already want one. This makes me want it even more, because like this looks like a legitimate actual entry in the series. And I love the series. I think you like it too, right?
Yeah, I haven't played it since the first one.
Oh, okay.
But it was a really good game.
They're all good except obviously the Gotham Knights, if you want to count that.
And then I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm sorry. There's another time we twice have to rag on PC Gamer because they made a terrible.
Okay.
I don't think you've seen about it. You know what PC Gamer headlined about this game?
No.
Back on the 20th.
No.
This is what they headlined their article as. Watch a latex-clad billionaire punch out poor people in the debut gameplay trailer for Batman Arkham Shadows. It's a headline article on PC Gamer for this game.
It's an established character. What are you trying to do here? What's the narrative you're trying to push? So
stupid. I'm sorry, Andy Chalk. You need to be fired. Like what? That's his name.
Play with some chalk, because let the actual adults in the room.
I think I saw this on what's it? Rev Says really Desu or something else. But I was like, oh, what's going on? Like what? Who thinks this is a good headline for an Arkham game?
So I'm obviously not the only one to think that this looks really, really good, because it got
retweeted
a whole bunch. I think it looks like actual, like, legitimate, real game in VR. Like, it looks like they put time and money to make this. Like, I don't know how long it is, but from what I heard, it's a full-length game. So it looks like it could be a full-length game. They showed off enough of it to where it's like, oh, okay, there's actually, like, this isn't just a 4-hour game or like a 2-hour game, like most VR games that come out, right?
You can actually be the Batman.
It looks good, man. Another one that we've obviously talked about, I think, twice before, but now we got a new name and a new trailer, and my God, this game looked gorgeous. Mouse PI for Hire.
It has that
the Mickey Mouse thing, man, going on.
I feel like I've heard about this game.
We talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it before. But before, it was we didn't have a name. It didn't have a name. Just a development name or whatever.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say it kind of feels like you turn Cuphead from a 2D scroller to a first-person shooter. It's a very similar art style in a lot of ways.
It looks, I love it too. Like how it keeps the consistency through the gameplay, like in that sort of beautiful like art style that looks very hand drawn and like a lot of time went into it. Is beyond me. I have no idea, but a first-person shooter of this type of game where it actually looks good, no frame drops, I don't see any dipping, I see consistent, just straight ahead, 60 frames per second gameplay of this beautiful art style is so cool. Do you want to play this game?
Actually, I do.
Me too. It's a PC.
I prefer to be on
only,
PC.
Though. It's PC.
Oh,
only.
I was about to say.
Steam.
So, yeah, it's even better.
So that means I have to get this on PC because it's currently a PC only game. So it looks like this might be the first, actually the first game I grab on PC because that isn't free. That is. It looks really good, man. I'm really excited for it. It's in black and white. Like, it's got the cool aesthetic. World of Warcraft, The War Within. There's some new stuff on that. New stuff on Sonic X Shadow Generations. We talked about it a few times. What we didn't talk about is that Limited Run Games is doing the collector's edition for this game. So I did want to mention that because we actually didn't get to bring that up. Did find out last week, but forgot to bring it up. So it's going to be that deal where you got just like the Lollipop Chainsaw stuff where it's like a AAA game, but it's going to limited run. So yeah, there's that. What else do we got?
Looks like Obsidian talked about the Avowed ending possibilities, or Avoweds, sorry.
Oh, interesting.
A game that I never really had any interest in.
Mr. Coffee said Temple of Doom technically is a prequel to Raiders timeline wise. Yeah.
Just came out separately. It doesn't make a difference. I didn't like the movie. I've seen the movie like a dozen times at this point. Anytime, like, it's okay. But I'm like, I got issues with certain scenes. Well, not certain scenes, but I don't know. The movie as a whole, it's that female character. She's so annoying the whole movie.
Yeah.
Take her out. You got the little kid is dope. Oh, come on, Dr. Jones or whatever it is, and it's nice, but yeah. But it gave us a very memorable scene. The whole where he rips the heart out of the dude's chest.
Yeah. What about this is up your alley? This isn't something I would care about, but what about Civilization 7? What did you think about that announcement? Because the trailer looks good. I just don't care about these type of games, especially anymore. Even though I want to talk about one in my game today,
I haven't. I think the last game I think I've got Civ 4 and Civ 5 installed, or the last games that I bought on Steam for this series, but I was just never good at the Civ games, so I kind of quit playing them over time. I mean, the game looks great. I'm sure people are going to love it. My interest in this specific type of turn-based combat has just definitely waned over the years. And I don't find enjoyment in playing these games anymore, unfortunately.
I didn't actually know that, but same. The other thing is it takes so much time.
Oh yeah, they're really long games.
That's the problem, and I don't have that kind of time for these type of games anymore. I mean, it's hard to even get a JRPG gameplay in there because it's like you do an hour. Like there's a lot of times where I only get an hour to play, less than that. Like I might have 30 minutes before bed. Like the other day, I turned on my Switch. I had played for 15 minutes and then went to sleep. 15 minutes. I played Zelda because I'm still working my way through that game. I just don't have time for these games anymore, unfortunately. When I was a kid,
spend 5, 6, 8 hours on a single game. Depending, I mean, obviously you could spend an hour or two on a game. Depending on how difficult it is and how quickly you're playing it.
But there's some games where it's like an hour gaming session for that game. It's like, what's the point? Because you're just getting started by that 45-minute point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes I know that happens to me a lot. It's like I made no progress at all. What was the point? I could have played something where there's like rounds or something, where it's like a set time. But yeah, I mean I don't care, but I know people do. So looks good for what it is. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, I watched the final trailer there. The game's about to come out. It looks beautiful. I'm super excited about it. I watched every trailer, just like kind of analyzing it. I'm like, man, this really takes the Dragon Ball Fighters formula and turns it into the Budokai Tenkaichi games with all these crazy amount of characters. And, there's like obviously going to be every version of Goku like ever. As expected.
It's like you're going back and like replaying the whole story from the original anime all over again.
Yeah.
Or not the original, but Z essentially.
Yeah, it basically takes it from the beginning of Z all the way up to a certain point in Super, I believe, is what the deal is, because it's got a bunch of those super characters.
At least I don't know, from what they showed, it technically only went up to, at least in this Gamescom that they gave us, it only went up to the Cell Saga. I'd expected to at least go to
Lord
the Buu Saga.
Was in it, and
I missed what they showed.
It's at like the 6 half-minute part, but it's got super characters in it for sure.
I missed that order.
Guy, what's his name? I always forget his name. That was like after Lord Beerus. He was one of the Lord Jiren. Jiren. That's who I'm thinking of. So it's got him in it. Yeah, it's gonna be a cool game, man. I'm really excited for it.
No, I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. It's gonna do decently well.
I can't go over all of these. We don't have time for all of them, but there's another one that like piqued my interest because I know we both like at least like the classic series or whatever. Starship Troopers game. We got gameplay for that. I thought that was kind of interesting. Extermination is what it's called. Starship Troopers Extermination. It looks like a cheaper game.
Again, that just didn't get a lot of money.
Yeah, it just looks like it didn't get a lot of money, but it's still like that doesn't mean anything. We had like Helldivers 2 come out, and
that's like the same concept. This is an IP that should, it's the same idea. It's definitely drew inspiration. Like this is an IP that should do really really well. Obviously, if it did the same thing that Helldivers 2 did for an online multiplayer, but even if it was like a single player game. Obviously, you have to wait and see. I still think it's funny they bring like Casper Van Dien has run his whole career off of this IP, Starship Troopers.
Yeah, he really has.
I'm sorry. Regardless, I love him as an actor.
What,
I think he's a great dude every time I've seen him.
You say, I don't know. I forget what I was going to say. But no, he really has done that. It looks good. It's got a single player mode, which is good.
Yeah.
Really good. And 16 player co-op missions. I don't know how many players you can play on Helldivers. I have no idea.
I think it's like squads of like 4, but that's like a server-based game.
Like
I'm pretty
32 sure. People or something.
I don't know. I think you go in teams of 4, but multiple teams are supposed to be on the same planet, taking
yeah.
the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the same concept. I mean, obviously you're killing the alien bugs, and that drew inspiration from Starship Troopers, like you said. So it should do good. I wouldn't say this is like a big IP whatsoever. It's definitely not, especially the younger generation. They don't even know what it is.
So I'm sorry. The first movie is iconic. I like all the movies, even if the second and the third one are kind of bad. I think the animated movie is a little bit better as far as the story and the acting and the writing, but I think it's an iconic IP for as bad as
it was meant to be like slapsticky, though. It was meant to be.
The first one, definitely. Yeah. If you watch the second and the third live action movies for it, I don't remember what they're actually called.
Serious, yeah.
The second one took the approach of, what's it like, kind of like more like an Aliens type thing. The third one's just so damn goofy. I'm sorry, it's the best way to say it.
It's like very, very, very low budget. Like that was.
There's a musical number in that.
I believe movie. It. I watched only the one because I had it on DVD, but that was a straight to DVD movie. So I mean,
felt like it was.
It was straight to DVD. Like there was no money put behind that movie.
I mean, it was the first in the movie to actually recognize things that were cut from the book. The whole armor stuff that they were supposed to wear. And there was a TV series that got cut early, which really, really sucks, unfortunately, because I actually liked that one.
I thought watch every series, but I watched the movies. Even that one that came out like 3 years ago or something. There was one that came out like not long ago.
Yeah,
Starship Troopers movie. It might be.
All I'm gonna say is if you, regardless of this game, if you watch those movies, you should definitely go read the book, and it is so different. Especially as. Just watch the first movie, then read the book, and you could tell they get the same point across, but in very wildly different ways. Very, very different approaches to storytelling when it comes to the same topic, essentially.
I'll just say this: I'll take your word for it because I don't read anymore. I haven't read anything.
The movie's nothing like the book. What's it? Is it Dizzy? The one chick from the original movie.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
She the book starts with Dizzy, who's a dude in the book, essentially dying in the first chapter. That's how that book starts. Dizzy's not a love interest for Rico, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of which, what do you think about this Borderlands 4 announcement that we just got right after the movie launch?
This feels like a stop. I'm sorry. I will remain skeptical, especially I didn't care for a lot of Borderlands 3 story, but especially after New Tales, I've got a lot of problems in the movie. This feels like if the movie didn't bomb, they wouldn't have released this trailer. That's what it feels like at the end of the day. I
thought the same thing. I was like, hey, wait, was this like supposed to also like kind of promote the movie because it was going to be doing
weird
so
timing.
Well?
I mean, there's already rumors that this movie's going to be in streaming before the end of this, before August is gone. Like this movie's not going to go up
100%
before it goes to streaming. This movie is losing tens of millions of dollars, like $80 to $90 million. It's projected to actually lose at the box office.
As it should.
Terrible.
As it should lose money. I mean, I don't want to support crap stuff that's garbage. So I legitimately feel that way. I just think it's
considering that I can't remember the dude's name, but the actual director. So he took inspiration from literally everything but the actual game series.
It makes no sense at all. Yeah, I don't know. This is a Metroid Prime 4 situation. They might as well not have given us a trailer because it's just the logo. Like there's literally nothing else but the face of what am I forgetting his name?
The psycho face mask.
Yeah.
The only thing it showed is Elpis is relevant. Like it was relevant to the end of the third game. Of course, it's going to come back. Like it.
I didn't even
Elpis
see that.
has to be relevant.
I thought it was just a floating.
It's some invisible barrier. There's some other planet that Elpis is now on top of, and then some person with a metallic looking arm picked up the mask, and people are going to decipher this. It didn't tell me anything really, other than it's happening right after, we would assume, after Borderlands 3. The whole the moon being frozen with Lilith and stuff like that has to come back to some degree. But I feel like the trailer teased a few things, but I was like, I'll wait to actually see the actual game.
Well,
and then unlike Borderlands 3, I'm not I will refuse to pre-order Borderlands 4, because I pre-ordered Borderlands 3, the collector stuff, because I got the one that actually came with like the little chest box.
Yeah.
It was a waste of money. I don't do anything with the box or the stuff in it. It just sits there collecting dust. But I was super excited for Borderlands 3, and then kind of let down with the story. Even now, I struggle to go back and play Borderlands 3 all the way through to the end.
I like the gameplay, but I don't like story, so that's where I'm at.
I don't know. The problem is everything else makes it's hard to go back to the gameplay, because I hate the story so much.
What do you hate?
Borderlands 1, 2, and the pre-sequel, I'll go back and play those to completion. I like the stories and all of those, and I like the gameplay on top of it.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland, because I know people that enjoyed it. I had friends that were playing it actively when it first came out.
It just felt forgettable to me.
Yeah,
it's kind of what it felt like. I was like, the stories. It felt like the gameplay was fine. The story was kind of like by the numbers. It just felt forgettable.
I think that because nobody talks about it now. You know what I mean? Nobody really talks about it now, so it's like I don't really know what to think of that. But I will say something that looks good is Secret Level. The Amazon Prime show that's coming out that's related. It's all about video games. So, and there's actual video game series in it. Did you watch this trailer?
I didn't know.
Oh, dude, it actually looks really good. So there's going to be PlayStation characters in it. There's going to be, I know they showed, who else? I know Pac-Man for sure, but there was like new stuff too. There was like,
I guess they listed it. So what's it? God of War, Sifu, 40K. They say Unreal Tournament, New World, Eternum, Dungeons and Dragons, Outer Worlds 2, Pac-Man, Honor of Kings, Armored Core, Mega Man, Exodus, Spelunky, Crossfire, and Concord were all the games listed.
Mega Man? I didn't see Mega Man. That's my favorite series, so that's kind of cool. It looks good. Like, it looks like it might be pretty fun to watch. And it looks like maybe like an actual kind of love letter to video games, which I'm hoping, because it's an anthology series.
I mean, if it's a love letter, I don't know why games like Concord are on here.
Well, because you know why that's on there, because
they're trying to sell the game. It
just came out today. That's why it's on there.
It looks so bad. I'm sorry.
It
looks like a cheap version of Overwatch 2. Like, if I want to play one of those games, play Overwatch.
They weren't going to turn down a multi-million-dollar game being in, you know what I mean? Like, if they offer you $3 million or whatever, because I think
Concord's going to flop. I don't know. I think Concord's going to flop.
I think so too. I don't think it looks good. I don't like this type of game, so it's not my thing. But I probably will stream it. Just like what was the game that we played? The First Descendant. That's not at all. The only reason I played that is because we were streaming and I had fun with you. Yeah. But I also said on the stream I would never play this by myself. If we weren't doing this together, I would never play it.
If you don't like a Destiny or Destiny 2 style of game, you're not gonna like that game.
Well, I won't say that,
it's got scantily clad women in it that you can spend $40 on a scanty outfit. Oh yeah, that was ridiculous. There's that.
We had fun, and that's all that matters to me. It's
I just refuse to pay attention to the story.
Yeah, we did. I didn't read any bit of the story after you said that, because I was like, oh, okay, he's not even. I'm way behind.
I was there to play the game. I didn't like, if I really cared for the story, I'd have just played it by myself. But what we were doing, I was like, I don't really care. I just want to play the game.
That makes sense. And
that's where I was at, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all good.
No, I just wanted to shout out
other thing. Oh, go ahead.
Because I know we had some chat stuff, and we catch up real quick. At least on the Twitch, Opus was saying Borderlands was terrible. The movie, that is. Yeah, definitely. It was a waste of $12 on that movie.
What's up, Opus?
I know there was some stuff from Mr. Coffee.
Hard Drive Gamer said, "How is everyone?" I saw that. Doing good.
Going good. Try not to. I know we haven't talked to the chat in a second. Obviously, back and forth. I just want to hit up a few things.
While you do that,
maybe we did.
Goat Simulator Remastered was announced with this crazy trailer that you didn't know it was Goat Simulator until the very end. Like I was watching live. That was opening night live. I was watching it live. And I was like, "What is this? This looks so good!" And then all of a sudden, you see goat horns at the end of the trailer, and I'm like, "Why are we getting a remastered game for one when we just got 4?" And it's that type of game where all they do is just add a bunch of content to it, and that's it.
Those are fun games. They're fun, but they're not replayable to me. Like once I beat the game, I don't care to go back to it.
Why are you remastering the first one with less content, and you got 4 that just came out?
I have no idea. It's not
old. Like, what are you doing?
Cha-ching.
So that's what it seems like to me. Are there even that many people playing those games? The next big one was Dying Light: The Beast, which looks really good. I like the Dying Light games. I think they're fun. There was one that I didn't care for as much, I think. I'm trying to remember the name. The last one that came out though was really fun. I played that. I think it's 2021 or 2022. I think it might have even been early 2023, but it didn't come out like super long ago. So it looks really good. Looks like it's a pretty, high budgeted game. It is a AAA game, so be expected. And then that's kind of it for the big Gamescom stuff. What'd you think about the announcements from there?
I thought it was okay. Nothing that we, for the most part, as far as like the major titles, we'd kind of already known about them, but it was nice to get more of a look. A few decent games, but nothing like, hey, I'm pre-ordering this game right now that I saw out the gate. I feel like I'm interested, but I'm gonna wait and see.
I feel
about the game.
Borderlands 4 is the one that's the biggest game. It's not the one that
Yeah. I guess the big thing is it's coming out in 2025, so it's coming out sometime next year, probably about a year or so, probably at least a year. If you want to go the release window of Borderlands 3, but
yeah,
I'm gonna remain skeptical on that one.
Me too. So we had Phil Spencer comment about some of the stuff we talked about earlier. So he said the reason that they're launching Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PS5, this is like the big takeaway quote out of it, because like there's a little bit here to read. I'll do the big takeaway quote, which was, "It's just going to be an easy strategy that works for us." So it's kind of a talking point there. He said, "Our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players are as high this year as they've ever been. So I look at it and I say, okay, our player numbers are going up for the console platform. Our franchises are as strong as ever, as they've ever been." I don't believe the console sales thing, but he said, "And we run a business. It's definitely true inside of Xbox. The bar is high for us in terms of the delivery. We have to get back to the company because we got a level of support from the company. It's just amazing, and we're able to go do." So I look at this, how can we make our games as strong as possible? Our platform continues to grow on console, on PC, and on cloud. It's just going to be a strategy that works for us. So he did mention cloud, because I figured, by him mentioning cloud, and we already knew 100% for sure, because we saw the registered patent for the streaming box, essentially. And I said... And I still believe that is what they are going to do. I don't necessarily think they entirely threw that concept away. They might have thrown that specific patent they did away, and they're not doing that because they said it's too expensive to produce or whatever for a good price point. I still 100% believe they're going the streaming route as far as like having a dedicated box, but it's not a console. It's like it's like a Fire Stick, like that type of thing. Or Roku. That's what I think they're doing. I 100% still believe that, because I could play, and we did it the other day. Me and my daughter played Fortnite straight off the TV with an Xbox controller. Like, we played it straight off of the TV.
That's crazy.
It's pretty wild. But yeah, Xbox is built into some Samsung TVs, I believe it is, and then some
essentially it's just Google Stadia, but with Xbox.
Yeah, it is, and it is getting better. I don't like streaming games because, like, when we streamed Fortnite, there was a lot of issues. It was kind of rough looking. We got fiber internet, so we got good internet. I got, I just tested my speeds. I got speeds upwards, upload and download in the 900s. So, like, there's no reason that it should. And obviously, I've got the PlayStation Explorer, same deal. It doesn't matter. I've taken it other places, same deal. So So I just don't think streaming is quite there, but I think that is going there, and they may have improved upon that concept. If you have a dedicated box, it's not just the TV, and it does have some power in it, then that's a little different, right? Like if there's some stuff going on there, you actually got some RAM in there and a little bit of stuff happening. That's a little different. So, and that's what I think they're doing, and I still think they're doing the handheld as well. I believe they're doing both of those. So I don't believe him in the consoles are as good as ever. It's hard to say because gaming is bigger than it was in the 360 era, but I don't know if the Series X and Series S have sold. I mean, maybe it did. Maybe it has. Maybe he's right and not lying, but it doesn't feel that way culturally.
I don't know. It also feels like they've come to the realization of like, we can make more money with some of these games, some of these smaller games, if we put them on every platform. Maybe some of the big party games that still want to
Indiana Jones ain't a small game. That's a multi-million-dollar game.
Yeah, but it feels like the idea of like, who cares? Just put on everything. We're going to make more money. The bottom line is really all we care about at this point. Console sales aren't really what's driving profit. It's the games themselves. So if we put these on more platforms, we're just going to break in the profit. Who cares if it's on PlayStation and PC as well? Kind of what it feels like what he was saying without actually saying it.
You know, I get that, and that's probably the move for them. If they're moving that way,
well, it's a business decision.
Yeah,
money is everything. The profit, bottom line, is really all that matters when it comes to some of these businesses. So if this is what it takes to make money, you're going to go this way.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is not a shocking article to me necessarily, but it is like a good viewpoint of exactly what I said before and what we both think as far as trends. So they announced that Sony's live service hero shooter Concord has been in development for around 8 years. So 8 years, that's around the time that Overwatch 1 was super popular, right? Yeah.
Hopping on that trend.
So they're hopping on that trend, and it took 8 years. I mean, you're not far from a decade.
8 years, and this is all you gave us? Like, 8 years, and this game could probably has a good chance to flop. So because it's not going to pull from that crowd.
What that
as
means,
much as I think it will.
Yeah, you're right. And then what that means is they were chasing trends before Overwatch 2 was even announced. Probably before it was even a thing. Like they even knew it was going to happen. So they're chasing an 8-year-old trend.
It shouldn't have taken them 8 years to develop this. That just shows they didn't put a lot of money behind it. They were chasing it, but they're like, we want to only spend so much money. Or there's a lot of development problems behind the scenes if it took them 8 years to develop it.
Matt Long 6 in here. He said, I got Tomb Raider from limited run. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to grab that, but I didn't end up getting it. Unless they make more money in an exclusive deal. Yeah, they probably did, I'm sure. The Concord stuff is just, it's not mind-blowing, but it is to a lot of people, and I get it. Like, we already kind of knew. I already knew. I mean, like, 6 years is, like, the average cycle now, so, like, 8 years, it shouldn't have taken them 8 years on this. 6 years, if I remember correctly, is, like, the average cycle for a AAA game. This should have took 5 to 6 years, I feel like, max. I'm
like
talking
a
max.
standard big development cycle, kind of like Zelda.
Yeah,
those big games take about 5-6 years because any more than that, it's taking too long. There's development problems behind the scenes.
Yeah, 8 years is too long, so that means there is something going on there. And this has probably gotten scrapped once.
Had to have for 8 years.
Yeah, had to have gotten scrapped is my guess. And they started over, did the Metroid Prime thing, just never announced it because we didn't know about this game until not super long ago. I want to say late last year, something like that, maybe.
End of the way, about a year out is when you should actually start talking about games. You shouldn't announce a game before you're out of pre-production.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know why anybody would think that in pre-production that you would announce a game, or even in.
I mean, like, that's what I say. How many games don't even make it out of pre-production?
Yeah.
Like, most games don't even get to full-on production. Like, it's a miracle that anything actually gets made.
Yeah, because you got a lot of people and a lot of hands to go through with these big companies. So yeah, most stuff, probably 90% of stuff we never see and never knew existed is scrapped, and nothing is ever done with it. So that's like
games that go into development and then a year or two and they just get scrapped for whatever reason.
I think we're past that time now. I think maybe these companies are starting to get like, hey, yeah, let's wait, closer, that 3 years in, we're halfway through the development cycle or something like that. At least I feel like that's like maybe the sweet spot where they're close to finish, or post-production even, like wait until that, because that could take 1 to 2 years in itself with some of these companies. So it's kind of crazy, but it's not a game I'm excited for. But yeah, it's obviously kind of big news. That's too long. That's too long. Here's one that is not shocking to me, but it kind of sucks, and I'll show live for some of the viewers too with this. But Nintendo announced that they're shutting down Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which is essentially one of their last mobile games. They shut down quite a few of them, and I am not a mobile game guy. Matt Long said Skyrim took 10 years. That's a did it?
No, Oblivion came out in 2006.
Yeah, that's not right.
Because Oblivion came out like mid 360 life cycle.
Years? Yeah.
No, like 5 years. If that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Oblivion came out in 2006. It still had DLC that came out, so
Shivering
it had to.
And stuff,
it was probably closer, maybe 5 years with pre-production involved, but probably 4 years of actual full-on production. I don't know exactly when the last DLC came out, but
yeah. Well, we do know that it's been a long time since Skyrim came out.
Skyrim came out in 2011, so it's been 13 years.
Yeah, it's
this November it'll be 13 years.
Yeah,
which is ridiculously long. Sorry,
that's way too long. I mean, we did get the Skyrim mobile game or whatever it was though, or the Elder Scrolls mobile game. It was something, a VR maybe. Was it a VR game?
And we're like what? I'm gonna say probably another 4 years from Elder Scrolls, because
I feel like 2026.
We knew they were working on Starfield, and then after Starfield, they were going to the Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah. And Starfield came out, a year ago? So it's probably only if it's actually in full development, it's only been there for a few months, because God knows how much pre-production had to be done before they fully ramped from that game to the next Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, it's pretty
So crazy. That game's still a few ways. It's going to be probably at least 50. It'll be over 15 years before we get the next game. It's crazy.
Well, getting back to this. So what's interesting about this? IGN rated an 8 out of 10. I think it's an easy 8 out of 10. It's one of the best mobile games I've ever played in my life. If you like Animal Crossing, it really stayed pretty true to that format, but it did bring in the mobile aspects of the game. So there was more to do. It obviously had to stay alive for a long time on mobile. So there was microtransactions. There was stuff that you could get. But I played it without having ever spent a dime on the microtransactions and had a blast. So it can be done. There was some stuff that was timed where it's like you could do it, 3 times a day or whatever, and if you want to go beyond that, then you can pay for it because I got to fund the game. It's free, makes sense. I get it. It's got that aspect to it. But they rated an 8 out of 10, and it being shut down a week after its 7th birthday. So it stayed alive for 7 years. I played it from the beginning. I really, really enjoyed this game. I was thinking back to like some of my memories with it because I played it through when I had multiple surgeries. So I played in the hospital. I spent a lot of time because there was 3 years essentially there with 2 surgeries. So I had a lot of time there where I was in the hospital a lot. I was very, very sick. So I would play that on my phone, and it was, easy to do, and it was free, and it was like just perfect timing. It was like worlds colliding, where I hadn't played an Animal Crossing game in a long time, and it brought me back to the series, and that's why I even played the newest one and got into it, because I kind of played the 3DS one, but I kind of skipped it at the same time. I maybe like did 10 hours. That's nothing for Animal Crossing, right? I had like 1,700 hours in this game. But it's really for 7 years,
Yeah, I did want to say
but
the Pocket Camp Twitter account came out. Obviously, they say, hey, this is when it's shutting down. But they also came out and said, you should also know that we are developing a version of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp that users can continue to play with their existing save data. We plan to share details around October of 2024, so we ask your patience. And obviously the game shuts down in November, so about a month before the actual server shut down, they're going to make an announcement as far as essentially like an offline version, which is at the very least nice to see.
Is that what it means? Because I took that as like, whoa, what does that mean? Do we getting a Pocket Camp 2, or are we getting a new announcement for, because by then we could definitely know about the Switch 2 officially.
Yeah.
Or it could be
maybe
out.
Well, I think the Switch already has an Animal Crossing. This just sounds like they're gonna make an offline version of the game essentially.
Oh. Well, see,
but I mean, I guess that's the way I would take it, and the way a lot of other people are taking it. That I saw on X, or Twitter X, whatever you want to call it.
I like
but
CRT TVs. Obviously, this is all years ago. I haven't played it in 2 years. That was the last time I logged in until the other day.
That's crazy. But I mean, hey, I guess you'll find out sometime in October. So in a few months, you'll figure out exactly what they want to do.
If that means an offline version, that's really cool that they're doing that, because people that have put, because it says you can keep all your stuff and everything like that. So people,
they don't have to.
They don't have what?
I mean, sorry, I didn't want to overtalk it. So this is something they didn't have to do. Normally, they just we're shutting down the server.
Right.
Get screwed.
That's what see, I took it as like you're keeping all your stuff. Like they didn't have to do that, because most companies wouldn't do that. Most companies would take your stuff, it's gone forever type of deal. Here's my upstairs room of the RV. It's full of trophies and gold stuff and those pictures. I don't know if you know, but like you have to essentially finish off a villager's everything. Like you got to max them out, basically max out all the essentially all the stats to be able to get that. So you get to the highest like friendship level for all Animal Crossings do this. And so it's like the final item you can get is a picture of them. So I've got it like full of a bunch of the villagers. So for audio listeners, head over to the YouTube if you want to check that out. But I did share screenshots on the socials about that the other day when they announced this. So yeah, companies don't have to do this. So that's pretty cool of them to do that, to be able to save all your stuff. Because there's people I know that have played it from the beginning and are still playing it. So that's really cool, man. So hopefully something cool comes out of that. I saw somebody make up a fake Nintendo Switch Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Like it looked really good. Like they put some time into it. I was like, like would they do that? I don't know if they would put that on the Switch, but an offline version is cool too, so you can keep your stuff.
No, fair enough. Yeah, it's just a really neat thing.
Yeah, for sure. So C Arcade, I never know how to say this. I think it's supposed to be Cracked, is what I think this company's name is supposed to be. They put out a lot of really cool stuff the past year or two. But they're putting out this Atom controller. So it's like a microcontroller. 8-Bit Do has one too. It's just a super, super tiny. And I mean like, because 8-Bit Do's, I have theirs and I don't have it by me to show you, but it's like this big, like a little tiny, real tiny controller. Like you put on a keychain type of controller. And they're putting out this microcontroller for $20. It's called, or no, this is a 8-Bit Do's microcontroller. It's called the 02. It's $20. So this company, I think it's called Cracked, but they did the Nitro deck for the Switch, which is really popular. I'm not sure if you heard of that. But it's like probably the most popular kind of grip to use for it, because it's got, I think like the new one has like a battery and stuff on it and things like that. It's got like programmable buttons. I know it uses like the whatever the magnetic thing is for the joysticks. I can't remember what that technology is called that most companies are going with, except the AAA companies for some reason. But yeah, all Hall effect joysticks. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of neat. I think they're like a novelty, but I actually have busted it out a few times to use for the Analog Pocket dock and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat. I just wanted to mention that. I thought it was pretty neat. I actually meant to put that in the small news, but yeah, pretty rad. So, I think we can mention like two things off of this, and then we'll have to wrap up for the podcast because we're going too long. We got other stuff. Enough. We got other things to do. So this one's cool. I sent it to you. The Lord of the Rings anime prequel. Did you watch this trailer?
Yeah, so I think we knew about this because this is the animated movie coming out in December, I believe, unless I was mistaken.
Yeah.
But I think this is the actual first look, not just like, hey, we're talking about it. Because I think it's supposed to deal with the Rohirrim 200 years prior to the actual movies or the books, essentially. But I thought it looked pretty good, and I'm interested. It's probably, assuming that it's going to be in my local theater, I'll actually definitely go and see it when it comes out, unless it's going straight to streaming. But I assumed it was going to be in theaters.
That I don't know, actually. I don't know if it's a theater type movie or not. like if they're releasing
I would like it. I think it looks really good.
Dude, it looks really good. It's a weird aesthetic to see with Lord of the Rings, but so was, the early cartoons, I guess, kind of. So it's definitely neat. Kind of like feels like kind of like a novelty type deal for an anime, if you will. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, because it's being directed by Kinji Kamiyama, and trying to figure out the actual animation studios. So it's being produced by obviously New Line Cinema, Warner Bros. Are the actual ones that own it. But I thought it was being done by a different studio, unless I was wrong. I may be I thought it was being done by a different studio, but I might be. Maybe I just misread it.
Here. I don't see anything about the studio. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. Brings.
It's I believe it's a mixture between New Line Cinema, Warner Bros. Animation, and Sola Entertainment. Of the three, Soul Entertainment is a Japanese studio that works in CGI, so they're the ones doing the CGI. But it looks like Warner Bros. Animation, which they've done a lot of good works with. Doesn't Warner Bros. Animation do a lot of DC movies?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's some DC anime too, like Batman anime.
Because
Superman anime.
It looked like a mix between Western and Japanese animation, like a middle ground.
Yeah, it's like an anime that is trying to obviously make those characters look Western. So like you could see both aspects of it. It's kind of weird. You got to kind of watch it. You see both aspects.
Yeah. The one thing I do like about it, and sometimes I like more about Japanese animation, it's not full CG 3D like a lot of Disney movies or something like that, or like the Minions. It's still that flat, for the most part, 2D animation with some CG elements.
Yeah.
It's
and
stuff
like
that.
It's boring for hand drawn. It's obviously not, but that's what it's going like, that 2D anime.
But even if it's full digital, I really like. I actually come to prefer the more 2D animation than CG or 3D animation in a lot of movies, because at times like
better.
I think the 2D, when it's done really well, it looks far better than anything that 3D animation can ever do, because 3D kind of looks little glossy, plasticky at times.
It doesn't
even when it looks
either.
Good.
It seems like as it gets better, like the previous stuff doesn't hold up. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, a lot of early 2000s 3D animation
is rough.
You could definitely see it's aged.
Lyoko.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just there's just something about the flat 2D animation that I just always preferred. Just even today, side by side, without having to worry about it being aged, it's just something that I preferred personally when I'm watching stuff. But I mean, I'll watch 3D and I think it looks just fine for the most part.
I'll tell you what, I didn't know they were making I knew about the game because it's already out and it's garbage, but I didn't know they were making a Gollum movie. Did you?
Isn't that the whole?
I thought we reported on the. I know the
maybe
game,
we did.
I don't remember the problem movie.
I don't see the point in that though. His story's told in both. Technically, the Return of the King really shows his background, and then the Hobbit, like that's his whole arc right there. Like I don't know why we need a Gollum game and/or movie. Like his story's wholesale irrelevant outside of when he first gets the ring, and then his actual plot in the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Because what he doesn't really do anything the rest of the time. It's just he's just doing random stuff.
It's like he's got this kind of cultural thing with him, because I don't know what it is. I didn't care about him at all when I watched.
He had a really good actor in the original trilogy.
It was good, but I didn't care. I didn't like get attached to this character necessarily.
As a character, I don't think Gollum as a character can hold anything, because I think it's
the game
kind of
is
uninteresting.
Garbage. And that does this.
It just looks bad.
Yeah, it doesn't even look good. I played it and it's miserable.
I don't think he's not a compelling enough character to carry.
He doesn't even talk straight English. Like, how is he going to hold the movie? Like he talks. Yeah. Like I don't want to hear that for a whole 2 hours.
He's
movie.
More. To me, he was always, and even now, he's a good supporting character, but not a main character of anything.
Yeah, his voice is annoying. Like after 15 minutes of hearing that, it's annoying.
Yeah, I need breaks of his voice.
Yeah, it's aggravating. So like the movie thing, we might have reported on it. We report on stuff every week, so some things I do forget, but I don't remember it. And it says it was in May, so it's not like it was super long ago. But I don't. He doesn't need a whole movie, man. That's ridiculous. And
actually, I was trying to. Sorry,
it just fell off for me, man.
Yeah.
Rings of Power, garbage.
Oh my god, I was trying to think because I was trying to figure out like what other show this animation style is reminding me of.
It's a Batman anime. It's
no,
like
it was more of like a Japanese game that was turned into a show, but I can't think of the name that it's reminded me of.
Japanese game that was turned into a show.
Because one of the scenes, like it closes up like around on the trailer that you pulled up on the IG, and if you're at 103, that animation style reminds me of.
Well, yeah, I watched it all
of
the way
something else. Of like I thought it was like a Japanese game that was animated, and I just can't think of it. It might be different.
I don't know, because there's been a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of Japanese American games turned into anime.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean,
I don't think it's the same studio. It just reminded me that.
Didn't Mass Effect have an anime too? Didn't Mass Effect?
It had a movie. Yeah, I think it was done by Production IG. I think that one.
Yeah, and then like what else? Final Fantasy's had it. Which obviously Japanese game series. And
funny enough, because I pulled up the Sola digital animation. Apparently, they also worked on not only this movie, but both of the Starship Troopers animated movies, the Appleseed Alpha movie, and the Ghost in the Shell movie that came out in 2021.
Oh yeah,
as much as I didn't like that animation looks weird.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
They also did Shin Godzilla for the PSVR demo, and then
I didn't even know
Tekken 7's opening movie. So I just thought it was some interesting stuff. Because I was trying to see if they actually did something specifically, but at least what I'm seeing isn't jumping out that I can remember.
It's got that same aesthetic as the DC films. So, and also the Marvel, like there's a Wolverine anime that looks just like this. There's another Marvel one. I think might be Spider-Man anime, but the Wolverine anime, if you look it up, it looks just like this. Looks exactly like it. And so does the Batman anime. I watched that. I loved it, by the way. Really good. But that looks just like that.
Until we can move on, but until I figure out what I'm thinking of, it's gonna kill me because I'm sitting here.
Well, you might be able to mention the anime in the anime podcast. Wink, wink. We do got an anime podcast coming. What else?
Maybe Devil May Cry, but that's not really what I'm thinking of.
Well, before that, there's one more I do want to mention. Just quickly, a Naruto live action movie script is done. We'll focus on how nuanced and special Naruto is. That was the words that they gave us. We know it's done though. The script is done, that is. But I don't know what that means, how nuanced and special Naruto is. Is saying somebody is nuanced, that's not really a positive thing, is it? Or maybe I
don't think it's a good way to describe anything.
I don't think so either, but it is a Japanese writer, so maybe it got kind of mixed in translation.
Yeah, maybe, but it's always a possibility.
But just the script is done, so there's no filming or anything that's been done yet. Said he's very personal and relatable. That's a style to describe how he is in the movie. I think that's such a cool choice because he's going to be able to capture how nuanced and special Naruto is without getting distracted by the big world that it is. Also said, which I think could be easily done by someone who's not a fan or someone who's coming in for a cash payday. This is definitely a movie that comes at it from a love of who Naruto is and that character and his relationships. I know I'm excited about it. Most anime movies I think are garbage. Like anime that get turned into movies. Like 95% of them. I've watched a lot of them and they're so bad. But I think Naruto can be done. I mean, they did Dragon Ball Evolution, pretty 10 out of 10. Yeah, they did One Piece. Dragon Ball Evolution's at the top. I mean, not necessarily a movie, but like the Avatar movie was really, really good. The Last Airbender. Yeah. So they've done some good stuff.
No, definitely.
Yeah, definitely go check out Dragon Ball Evolution though. Underrated, cult classic. Obviously, I'm joking. There aren't many good, But I also did want to quickly mention this, and this isn't big news or anything, or probably shouldn't even bother with it. But this is today. There was we talked about this universe a few times actually. The fairy tale horror movie series known as the Twisted Childhood Universe, or Poohniverse, for the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. They unveiled the first poster for their new horrific fable, Pinocchio Unstrung. The poster teases a film where the magical wooden doll ditches his strings to go on a killing spree, while the Pinocchio story follows a puppet who hopes to become a real boy. Pinocchio Unstrung's tagline teases a terrifying toy that won't be the same. There's nothing holding him back. So he's on his feet.
No, I mean, it looks pretty
excited.
Dope.
Yeah, I figured. I heard the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 was really good. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, 12 out of 10.
The
everybody should watch that movie.
Yeah, everybody should watch it. I think it's great. But I think that's it. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention this week in episode 97? 3 episodes away from 100. Kind of crazy, man. Hard to believe.
The to be determined special thing happening on the 100th episode.
We gotta figure out what we're doing. I don't know, man. I
was gonna go
talk about it. I ain't been able to talk to you, but we do gotta figure that out. Something special is gonna happen though. We'll do something fun.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything else you want to mention?
No, I think we got everything.
All right. Be sure to go over and check out these socials. Had a bunch of stuff up yesterday, including a short. I got something to post right after this. So if you're watching live, check back in like 10 minutes. I'm going to try to get this up though. But we didn't mention this actually, real quick, Mark. Before we end this, it's the 33rd anniversary of the Super Nintendo. We forgot to mention that.
Forgot.
What's your, I guess quickly, kind of what's your overall thoughts of the console?
It's classic.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it's not the Famicom, which would have been nice to have, but it had a lot of iconic games that I remember growing up from all the Mario games to one of my all-time favorites, which is the original Yoshi's Island.
Yep.
To started Mario Kart. So it's just really, really iconic console. Especially when it comes to old retro consoles at this point.
It really is, and it had some the best RPGs of all time. You've got things like Earthbound, you got Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I mean, like some of the all-time classics.
Chrono Trigger is the best RPG of all time.
It's amazing. And funny enough, in my top 5, Earthbound would be there too. I think it's a phenomenal RPG that's different, especially for the time. Totally different in the fact of the story. And now this wasn't totally unique, but most RPGs didn't do the style of RPG that Earthbound was, where it was the head-on-head, like first-person RPG. Like when you go into combat, that is. Did that style RPG, and it did it very well. But Chrono Trigger obviously is there. Final Fantasy... I think I would put Final Fantasy 4 and 5 there. You've got some of the Dragon Quest games that are some of the best ever. There's so much classic about that console, and so much you should check out.
Yeah, because we're getting some of those Dragon Quest remakes coming up too. The first 3.
Oh yeah, and I think that's great because the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters came out too. So you've got 1 through 6 there, which is really cool. What else? I mean, obviously the Mario games, like you mentioned, like Super Mario World, I think and Super Mario World 2 are some of the best 2D Marios of all time. Like, they're perfect games, both of them, in my opinion. They're like perfect games to where they're a game that you can come back to no matter how many times, and you jump right back in, you know what you're doing. They're easy to just start picking up and playing. And they're not super long either, but they're so replayable that like they make them worth the purchase. So yeah, there's just some all-time classics on there, and I just wanted to mention that. I love the console. But yeah, be sure to check out the socials. You can go to the GameJunctionPodcast.com, check out the audio. For audio listeners, be sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're watching. Some of them you can like, but downloads help a lot with the episodes. So definitely, if you're listening or streaming it, hit download, because that's the only numbers they like to track, or downloads for audio. And yeah, Mark said also as a closing thought, video games are terrible.